You guys missed the Wayne's World count-in, but we're live. What's up, my friends? This is Dan Tom, and I'm the host of the Protect Your Neck podcast, where we break down high-level MMA, but in a slightly different way. Of course, I got to have a co-host for a pay-per-view show. Try to get one on the front end, on the back end. I don't know about a recap show. I'll be recapping next week with Heavy Hands. I'll be going live with Ant Walker during the fight. More on that later, but right now, we got to preview the damn thing. So I brought on at Lou Betya, one of many characters out there on the Twitter space, MMA gambling, MMA Twitter, however you want to classify it. He's a dude who I like the cut of his jib, sexually or non-sexually. You guys could take it however you want. It's a crazy show, man. But no, honestly, it's a pleasure. This guy's really funny, and he actually does a bit of the betting in the MMA, you could say. So, and he did well last week. What's up, Lou?
I definitely do a little bit of the betting. I'll say that. Thanks for having me on the show. Probably long overdue for the two of us to get together. Even though we're doing the prop show in a few weeks. Banger card, first card in Brazil in years, especially with a crowd. I am excited. I'm sure the people are excited. I know you're excited. Let's go, man. Dude, Let us go. I did the prop show earlier. Now I get the full card breakdown. I'm excited.
I'm excited too because those tidbits, props, and whatnot. That's something that I like. It's usually the last to kind of trickle down, as it probably should be. Those are like the bonus ends. Whatever however lax or in depth you like to take your research. Usually at the end you find some nice props there. That's usually where I'm looking for my round robins, which of course, as you guys can guess, I am still constructing as of the show. So we'll see if Lou can help me as we go here. Of course, before we get to the breakdown, which check the timestamps. What's up, buddy? What is that?
If you can see my nonsense, and I don't think you can on this thing.
No, it's looking like
I literally have a shit ton of round robins already.
For a second, I thought Powder was my co-host. That's right, folks. A lot of obscure movies from the 90s and even further will be referenced, so stay tuned.
I remember that movie, unfortunately. I am old enough to know that movie.
I am old enough to that movie and remember thinking that the blue circular sunglasses were cool, though I will say stuff like that seems to be coming back into style. You see what Figueiredo was rocking this week with the chains.
Oh, yeah.
I can't hate.
Is this one of the few times you've ever had a co-host that was older than you?
This is, yeah, I know what I'm saying. Like, I mean, I got a reference that's older than me later, and I'm like, sweet. Maybe at least one person will get it, and I won't feel alone in the room here. So again, I'm very excited. Not to be ageist, not to come off in a negative. Take it in the spirit that it's meant, Lou. But I'm happy to have someone at least my age to co-host with, which is great too, because there's a lot of youngsters in this game.
I already chased those kids off my lawn.
That's right.
Get off my lawn.
We don't hate the youngsters either. Obviously, this is a young man's game that we're breaking down here.
Tell me about it.
Just some house cleaning. I want to do some shout outs. By the way, Lou also founder at the MMA-Engine with an E and co-host of the MMA Happy Hour. And again, follow him. You can see his if you're on YouTube. Thanks, by the way. Like the video, subscribe. You can follow him there on his name tag at Lou Betya, and that works as a Twitter name tag for me as well at Dan Tom MMA. It's where I'm most active. You could try to stalk me. I'm most not active at the other places really much, to be honest. So let's get to business. We got plenty of people in the chat. Want to do some house cleaning, get some shouts, touch on a topic, recap, and we'll be breaking down the fight card. It'll go in that order. Again, if you're listening to the future, check the show notes for timestamps. Don't have those now because we are recording in real time. We got Rain Lamina in the chat. We got Rob G, Samuel Negrete. I saw the Chronic Combat guys poking around. I know Lou's been on that show. Again, we got a nice fine community. We got Barton in the chat. James Kendrick. Awesome, good stuff. Synchro Wing says hello, Lou. Got some Lou fans in the house. So good to see my man Ghost Phantom in the house as well. Who's commenting on the look I just talked about. He says, Ghost Phantom, Figgy adopted Captain Eric Al-Bahassin's look, even with the glasses, though he wasn't even at Fight Ready this year. Yeah, we'll talk about that. The lack of Fight Ready, which I'm glad you confirmed that, Ghost Phantom, by the way, Lou. He trains there, I believe. I don't want to out you too much, Ghost Phantom. But yeah, I did not see Figgy training there. We'll get to that fight more in depth later, but thanks for giving me and Lou love in the chat. Apologies if I don't get to you guys as much. We got a lot to cram in today, so Lou, with no further ado, just a quick housekeeping note at the top. I forgot to mention on last week's episode, I have it pinned on my profile still on Twitter at DanTomMMA. I did like prospects to look out for in 2023, and I did 23 of them, and I still am short, a bunch, because you can never please anybody on that list, or everybody, I should say. But I will say those are a strong list of names that I would stand by on. So whether you're a technical nerd like me, or like most of you who are here for the show, you're here for the gambling aspect, I think that's good too, because you can kind of see, it doesn't mean they're going to pan out, no, but you can see who people, like myself and others in the space, who we're kind of looking out for, especially those of you who like to grab the early lines. I'm not a CLV guy. I don't know about you, Lou, but, those of you who like to get the lines early and be on the know of who's up and coming, please check that out. Lou, are you a CLV guy, by the way?
I'm not, but, I am in other sports, but one of the things that I've learned over the multitude of years of gambling is, unless I feel so strongly about a fight, I'm in a community where there's tons of people that are super intelligent, that see things from a different perspective. Like, I'll just shout out one of my guys, like in our company, Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy approaches from a far more analytical perspective than I do. I'm more like logician. Like, I think this is the fight script. I think this is how it's going to play out, and I let that dictate my plays. But Weezy sees things that I don't. So, like, Narco Cop's another guy, like, I respect his breakdowns immensely, the deep dives he does. If I'm in a community with super smart people that know this game really well, it behooves me to take in all the information I can during the week,
sure,
to learn from other people, say, like, hey, did you see this? Like, did you see that? Like, and really, and then, I do the best with the information that I can do. Like anything else in life, like, be prepared with the more information. If I don't beat an opening line, Contender Series is a little different because the lines swing so quick, like in the span of an hour or two.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if I lose 10, 15 cents here on a bet, I know, like, there's the whole pick winners and, versus, odds. But if I lose 10 cents on a line, but I feel like I made the right choice, then I can live with that. If I lose $1 of value, then it's, now we're oops.
Yeah, plus the minus swings when we get over the gate, obviously, that's always takes the wind out of your sails when you miss those kind of lines. So, not hating at all, but it's just it's just something that, I don't want to stress myself with. I stress myself enough trying to get prepared for you guys each and every week to try to get a handle on these matchups, because MMA, it's so volatile when the game starts, but there's also a whole nother game of volatility just getting up to it. Are they making weight? What matchups are falling out? I know, COVID and pandemic era kind of 10x'd a lot of these variables as well. So it could be pretty dangerous. But, at the same time, it is good to know who's coming up and keep an eye out. I joke all the time, I'm not a closing line value guy, but that doesn't mean I don't envy some of y'all grabbing these lines. I wish I could, but both my OCD and adult duties, I just have to put so much time kind of on the front end. But to finish the thought, I will say this is what I loved about doing it, Lou, is I realized how much talent was just outside of the UFC. And there's smarter people that say it better than me. I'm not the only person that's been saying this, but yes, this has been something I've said on this podcast, Lou, as far as Contender Series, the way UFC is scouting, how that affects both, fighter negotiations, which I'm not going to get into the weeds here. It's not this show. As far as the talent pool. And I think we're really seeing that. And I really wish I remembered to bring this up on last week's show, Lou, which is why I'm bringing it up here, because I'm not a news topic show, but the one thing I will touch on before we push on to recapping and then breaking down action is I think the Francis Ngannou situation, which I want to get your thoughts here in a second, Lou, on. I think that kind of made people realize it from a top-down perspective as far as, well, what is out there, and there are people like myself in the article that I stated that you could argue that right now it's never been richer, in a long time outside of the octagon. Whereas other people kind of shitting on Ngannou will have the counterpoint and say, what's he going to do? This was a dumb move, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, I don't know if it was John S. Nash or someone else brought up the point of, was like, you know what, that's kind of a self-admission of what this whole, UFC has been in court for, and what we, long talk about as far as, owning a disproportionate amount of the market unfairly, which is what they're going to court for. So it's kind of funny. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. But it's something that I know people like myself and many have been talking about for some time. And again, check out my article pinned to my top of my Twitter profile for regional talent coming up, so you can see what I'm talking about on that aspect, regardless of your opinion on the Ngannou subject. But Lou, do you have any opinion on that as far as the Ngannou situation and what's going on right now? It's pretty big news as far as I'm concerned, even though I'm not a news show guy.
Well, there's two separate parts to this, and one doesn't involve Ngannou as much, but we're finally in an era now where, for years, and like I don't know why I picked Matt Hughes out of my out of air here, but that era, which is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure to yours, that's an era where people that were doing other things and then transitioned to MMA because they didn't know what to do with their lives. We're now seeing around the world people that trained from a very young age whose goal was to fight professionally in mixed martial arts because it's opened up across the globe. So that's why I think the talent pool around the world is getting deeper. Now, as far as Ngannou goes, I don't know if you're like an old school pro wrestling fan, but when McMahon had control of wrestling, you either worked there or you didn't make any money. But back in the days, in the 80s, like when Japan was big, like when WCW, all these other leagues, I'm not going to make it a pro wrestling thing, but when you were a pro wrestler, you're an independent contractor. If you have options to go work other places and go make money, everybody wins. Because then everybody's happy where they're working. You can travel. You never get stale. And I feel like we are starting to see that right now. I don't love bare knuckle boxing, but it's an option for some of these guys to make a killing. Even the PFL's starting to improve. Their talent pool is starting to improve. Bellator, hit or miss for me over the years, but I can't argue they got so many talented guys. I love me some Rafion Stotts. This is my dude. You have Aries FC puts on good fights. LFA is great. Like, there's tons of Japan. There's tons of places guys can go and work their craft if they want. And if you make a name for yourself in the UFC and you use that, like, good for Ngannou for holding to what he believed. He didn't feel like he was treated fairly. He also knows at his age, how many years does he really have to make bank? So
how many years does any of them have? But yeah, I hear you.
But if he wants to box, and allegedly he wants to box Fury, and if it happens, great. But any boxing match he has, he's going to make more money on that one fight than he made his whole UFC career. It's not right, but it's the nature of the pay scale in the UFC. But if he's willing to go to Japan, if he went to the PFL, they'll just hand him the check right now. If he wanted to go to Bellator, they'd probably pay him just an insane, like Brock Lesnar level money. So good for him for sticking to his guns. And the beautiful thing about it is, if you really just watch the UFC, he leaves, there's 10 more guys in each weight class just waiting to come up and make a name for themselves. It's an endless cycle of talent, just maybe not as much as heavyweight, but in general, there's tons of up-and-coming guys that are always ready to take the spot of the guy who's not happy. So I love the cycle of the sport, and you don't have to be in the UFC to make a living, which I love.
Yeah, and by the way, pro wrestling analogy is welcome here. I know a lot of people get really antsy about that. I don't get it. I'm not a hardcore pro wrestling guy, but I used to be a big fan, and I'm not a denial of the history. And I love that you mentioned kind of the territories, and you would build up territories. And it was great because not only would it allow wrestlers to still get their checks, whether they were, signed and wrestling with bigger promotion X, Y, or Z, but you would build up that territory, and that would kind of like what you were talking about, that would then benefit in return. And I guess the analogy here, folks, is like having a guy like Eddie Alvarez and Bellator through that segment, right? Like UFC was going through its arguable golden era, how the more recent, bias history is written, which I'm a part of. That was a golden era for me as a fan. Certainly the Lesnar 2009 to the, ish. We're talking about 2010. Eddie Alvarez was over in Bellator. You had Gilbert Melendez at lightweight, over at Strikeforce, and they got to build their names. And being out of the UFC arguably helped them. So I agree with you on that point, and I'll just add that obviously you're right. I agree with you as well. Why talent is getting better, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is that regardless of what side you fall on, whether you're a believer in the Zuffa myth, so to speak, and are like the reply guys in the comments just swallowing whatever Dana's whatever, Dana runs to the edge of the stage and you're one of the dudes holding the Dixie cup to just try to catch whatever you can. Despite, I'm not going to talk about Power Slap, but kind of proving the promotional abilities there, you could tell they're not really. The UFC is not really in the business of cultivating talent. There's been people like me who have long criticized the matchmaking, card formatting to kind of support these things at all levels and all divisions. Not just talking about the Ngannous or the salacious stories. I just wanted to kind of use both that article from the bottom end, outside the UFC up and coming, to what we're seeing at the top end, the baddest man in the sport, and the fact that all these trends are kind of proving each other right. And not that I'm, it's the nature of it. I'm kind of with Lou. I'm trying to look at the silver lining, where it's like I want these fighters to go out and get paid, so I'm not going to sit here and be a hater on anybody's choice for that. But I just will say that it is kind of proving a lot of us right to wrap this point up, as far as is the UFC really home of the best of the world? How hard are they really trying to get it? Again, shout out to MMA channel on YouTube, who's been doing a lot of betting. A lot of really good videos on the James Krause situation. They just released one on Iridium Sports Agency. And not to single Iridium out, but just kind of the dominance, pardon the pun, of a lot of management. And we see how that kind of funnels in things from Contender Series all the way up. So again, all these things relate to each other, folks. So I'm not telling you how to think. That's never my business here. But,
Iridium does manage so many. I mean, they manage Cody Brundage, who's a friend of our channel, friend of mine.
Sure.
Like they it seems like every fight announcement, I'm like, oh my God, they have like hundreds. They have just absorbed everybody.
Sure, and I handled a lot of their correspondence, booking for Junkie and emails and stuff with House and many others who worked for House and stuff. So, and they've always been great and respectful. I'm not saying no personal complaints on that front. But again, folks, it doesn't matter what my opinion is or what your opinion is. I'm just pointing out that the sky is in fact blue for those who've been trying to warn you. So, interesting stuff to keep an eye on. That's not the point of this show, so we're going to push on. Lou, you had a good night at UFC Vegas 67. Did you not?
I did, and I just want to talk about one change I made. So I'll tell you what I hit on real quick. I hit on Ige, pretty big.
Nice.
I had Al Hassan, which means I'm now 1 for Al Hassan in my betting career. I've never gotten a fight right with this guy. I had a Juice Boy parlay with the Johnson time props, and my guy, the Snow Leopard, Basharat, who I love. The only bet I lost was the Nascimento fight not going to split decision. At least if I'm going to lose it, I lost it quick. I was like, all right, on to the next one. I did have the Vieira Pennington split decision props. I didn't care the way I bet. I bet the split decision. I bet both sides of it. I don't care who wins. I told you like a couple of days ago, I said I used to just hate the split screen because I knew I was getting screwed. Now I just bet the split screen, and I couldn't be happier. So up a little more than 8 units, and it's a start to the year. I'm a streaky gambler. I don't claim to ever be like the best capper in the world. In fact, I tell people on my show all the time, if I'm on like a 2-fight losing streak, if my first fight loses tonight, legit just fade all my picks and make money. Like, at least you'll make money if I can't, but go make money because I run hot and cold. And so one thing I've changed, and it's going to come up tonight a few times, because, if you consider yourself somebody that cares about gambling, good or bad, it's always tweak. You got to tweak. You got to look at, trends change, sports change, rules change, always make tweaks. One thing that I noticed I got in a lot of trouble with last year was trying to cheat some of these money lines by taking guys in the distance against regional guys who were undefeated. Preston Parsons being like my perfect example. I had this guy bet by sub against Evan Elder. Evan Elder was taken at short notice. His takedown defense didn't look good. But I lost the bet. And Parsons had him in 13 minutes of arm triangle chokes in that fight. But I lost because Elder, was undefeated at the time, showed a toughness that you couldn't know because he'd never been in bad spots like that. And last week, I laid off 2 bets that I would have usually made. I didn't take Rebecca in the distance, and I didn't take Argetta in the distance. 2 short notice opponents, undefeated on the regionals, that just were tough dudes that endured. I mean, Rebecca threw everything at the tank at Fiore, and Fiore, I clearly lost, but he endured it. So I am trying to stay away from bets like that. I don't like betting big chalk as it is. It's not my style of betting. I bet, I bet like plus 2,000 props, and I think it's hysterical. I don't like betting minus 500s. But there's one exception I made on this card for in the distance, and we'll get to that fight. But for the most part, that is one thing I'm trying to tweak, and it already saved me 2 losses. So hopefully we'll see if that trend continues. It's obviously there's no 100% strategy, but if it's something that's costing me money, I try to change it.
I like that a lot, especially those ones that, not to, woulda, coulda, make you live in woulda, coulda, shoulda land, but I did like those, the leans you had, if you could say so, as far as the fights go in the distance with Argueta and Rebecki. I also really like that you're hit as far as those splits. I say it on this podcast all the time. I'm jealous. I live in Vegas, Lou, so I don't get the FanDuels or the DraftKings bet fight ends in split. And
yeah, they don't give you nothing.
Rounds 3 decision or rounds 4 and 5. Oh my goodness, those are just Dan Tom lines. You're gonna get me like a kid in a candy store, like Jim Miller jumping on a submission. I just can't say no, Lou, but I can't say yes because they're not offered here, unfortunately.
Right.
But massive props. I'm happy for anybody who hits that. Real quick, I went 9-2 overall in picks. Unfortunately, the 2 fights that I missed, I had
Vieira
in some way or no. I actually. Those ones traditionally, Lou, I have notorious luck for losing these split decisions, especially these classic ones where it's like a vet like Pennington who counters and does inside work, stuff that the judges just don't, go to the body, stuff the judges don't typically reward as highly as sometimes I think. But this one went my way, and to be honest, I thought it was going to go Vieira's way.
On the right side.
It was, but
on the right side,
I honestly thought, and I said on Twitter, I'll stick to it, I thought it could have gone Vieira's way. I picked Pennington because she had more hustle in her, and that ultimately, even if people that maybe didn't agree with the decision are trying to, objectively trying to make sense of it, will say that. It was, she had more hustle. That was the reason I gave. But 2 Vieira's...
punches from the back. You know
why?
I
hate those. Ugh.
But you know what? This is the first time we've seen a weird split. Well, it happened in the Feely-Algio fight, too.
I hate it.
Feely had his back. It wasn't doing anything. And Algio was landing. Look, Pennington was landing some of those punches, and Vieira was just holding on. And I think the optics of that, like you just said, I think they,
And I'm down. Let me be clear. I'm down. I both get the optics, and I'm down with rewarding those optics. As far as what we saw, as far as a fighter trying to, if we're rewarding the effort and hustle, she's not really getting any damage off because those are non-leveraging strikes, and I want to keep that same energy. But optically, I get it. I just hate when commentary or and then because you see it trickle down and people just oversell non-leveraging strikes, and I'm like, you're punching behind you. But you're right. You're absolutely right in the sense of damage or no damage. Optically, it looks great. In a tight round, you got one fighter holding and the other fighter actually fighting to break free, actually trying to throw strikes. That does and arguably should count for something, right? So we got it. I'm definitely not going to complain about that one. And you had the split, obviously, there, so you're not going to complain either, Lou. But yeah, I scored on Danny.
As soon as I see the split screen, I'm like, yep. All I need to hear is, as much as people don't like this man, as soon as I hear the words Sal D'Amato scored the fight, I'm like, yes, sir. Ship it.
Ship it. We'll work backwards and work our way down. I too scored on Dan Ige. He kind of saved my night, even though, by the way, I came in just under even 0.4 under. But it would have been much worse if Dan Ige didn't come through, who I had the money line also by KO on the round robin.
He came through. And he came. You know who was big on him? I just mentioned the whole process. My guy DFS by the numbers, Brady. When we were doing tape, on Sunday, he's like, this is my favorite bet of the card. And it's funny because I looked at the matchup and I'm like, man, Damon Jackson's only this. Seems like a good spot if he can get takedowns. And then I talk to Brady and I start doing tape and I'm like, yeah, I really do like this Free guy. And he looked great. Now, I don't know. That was a very favorable matchup for him, but good for him, man. I love the guy. He's a grinder. He works hard. I know he was on a losing streak too. He's had a bad run facing some killers. So, and I feel bad because I like Damon Jackson a lot too. He's another guy it's hard not to like, but Ige needed this one bad. So good for him, man. We want him around. He's good for the sport.
Absolutely, and nothing against Damon Jackson too, man. The guy, especially the heartbreaking story last time. Dude looks like Walt Goggins for God's sakes.
He does.
He looks like Walt. I was like, am I watching The Shield or it's the co-main event time?
Can you imitate him? I can't. That's not in my.
He's not in my wheelhouse.
I don't have that twang to like,
No, I got to save up because of the speaking of super popular movie references that I love to drop. I already got to have my Finding Forrester for Jamal when we talk about him. Bolt the door if you're coming in. Jesus, Dan, what version of that movie did you watch? But listen, I want to give a shout.
Connery?
It's right, Jamal. Cucumbers, blueberries.
It's better than all I know how to say is, you'll rue the day you crossed me, Trebek.
You'll rue the day. Your mother's a whore, Trebek.
But right, my imitation is Daryl Hammond imitating him, not like.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I don't have like an actual Connery. I have Daryl Hammond imitating Connery.
Well, my thing is, regardless of the level of imitation, I somehow project everybody into being a pervert. So let's just not look too deeply into that, but enjoy it.
Dolly Parton.
Ray Lamina, the Tiago Moises of making bad choices, the Oven St. Preux of wedding the special GQ, the Jeff Gordon of MMA snowboarding, the Aljamain Sterling of wearing funny bling. All right, this one didn't get me canceled this week. Thank you, Ray Lamina. Good job. But Sean Strickland, speaking of getting canceled, Sean Strickland defeated Nasruddin Imavov. Again, to tie up the last point from the Dan Ige and parlay us forward to Strickland as we finish this recap here, I will say, you were talking about consulting your sharp friends. I had people I consider of the sharpish community as well. Seeing a lot of value on Dan Ige, and I ended up writing somewhat of a recommendation, although we didn't get the live scenario I was looking for as far as the Action Network prop. But it was hard because it was a situation
after one.
Well, we went from plus money to negative, so it's always hard to make that argument, right? No matter how biased or how strong you feel, for one, right? Especially when you're writing content for others, even though I'm not a gun to your head, follow me off this cliff, everybody, we're going to war. But also my bias toward extreme couture fighters who happen to be cornered by Eric Nixick, a fellow Hawaiian. You could check all the boxes, of course this motherfucker's gonna, so it was really hard for me, in other words, Lou, to say that, but hearing others, like you mentioned, say it, did also make me feel less crazy for what that's worth. So props to anybody who followed. And my bias couldn't take me here. I wanted to pick Strickland, but it was something about the 4 or 5 days notice. I don't know if we have a stat on this, Lou, but it feels like these fighters lose more often than not, No matter how much we love them. I love Bobby Green, right? But it was
I think it's 32% they win.
Yeah, but it's like, how was I going to pick Bobby Green against Islam Makhachev, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I picked Imavov here, even though I don't even like his game. I wasn't sold on him. And sure enough, he, at least to me, he was underwhelming. And Sean Strickland gets a deserved decision. Anything to say on this one, Lou?
He had no urgency, and Strickland. So I picked Imavov myself because Strickland hasn't shown an urgency later in like fights, like the Hermanson fights. A perfect example. And even his last fight against Cannonier, he just kind of screws around, like he's waiting for the fight to start, like the 3rd and 4th and 5th rounds. Like his volume is just not there. So to me, I knew Imavov is Imavov's gonna win the first 2 rounds. He's got the cardio. He should have the cardio advantage for being in a full camp. Been training for a 5-round fight. Yeah, he trained for a different style of opponent, but Imavov should win the first 2. And then Strickland won't have the urgency to throw in the last 3 rounds. Well, boy, was I wrong, because Strickland came out with urgency from the jump. And maybe he came out with urgency because he was worried about his cardio. But he was on the front foot that whole fight. So Imavov was too little too late. I had no bet on it, but I picked Imavov, so it was a terrible pick. But, you chalk it up to a loss, and I realize the counter argument is this was a step down for Strickland talent-wise, I guess. I think Imavov will be all right. He'll learn from this. He'll get better. He's young enough to make adjustments. So I think this is just good experience for him. It's his first 5-round fight. I think he'll be all right going down the road.
Finding Forrester forever. Sweet bucket memories. I love it. We got some Finding Forrester love. And I agree with that analysis as well. But to push forward, and I'm going to parlay some shouts in here while we're breaking this fight down, Lou. Dustin Love, my guy, DLove_turmeric_tonic on Twitter. That's the turmeric.tonic.com. I got some on the way. I'm excited. But Dustin Love says, my guy, what's up, Dan? I never make these live. Happy for the fights this week, and let's go indeed. And if you want to go get some turmeric at theturmeric.tonic.com, make sure you use code PROTECT15 at checkout. Get yourself 15% off that anti-inflammatory goodness. I definitely need it. Everything aches much harder after workouts. As
you're a big turmeric guy?
I do. I cut at least a thumb size. I don't have any right now, which is why D Love's coming to the rescue. But thumb size of ginger, thumb size of turmeric in my smoothies. Don't have any turmeric right now, so I'm missing.
You know what? I don't do. I do it the exact opposite way. I don't do smoothies. I drink bone broth.
Nice.
I get the ginger and turmeric bone broth.
Ooh, that's really good. I will say though, you are already putting pineapple in your smoothie. So if you ever wanted
this is a whole different thing. Yeah, it's a whole different drink.
Okay. I'm just saying, it's a fun fact, though. Pineapple and the bromelain in pineapple, when it mixes with the bioavailability in turmeric, it's like steroids, and it makes the anti-inflammatory properties like 10x. Just FYI. So, and then the pineapple, of course, like Lou, covers up any kind of, stuff you want to put in there. Easy Cosby's out there, not that kind of stuff. We're talking about bitter vegetables. Moving on to the recap. Wow, Dan, that was appropriate. Dark. Roman Kopylov defeated Punahele Soriano. I missed on this one. My guy Puna went down, but you got to give props where it was due for Kopylov. Did you have any thoughts going in to this one?
I got that one.
Going in out.
I got that one wrong too.
You too? Okay. Yeah.
And I knew it was a trap. I'm like, I like Puna in the distance. I'm like, man, why do I feel like this is a trap? And yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I just underrated Kopylov, but those kicks, the kicks to the body got through. Like every kick he threw, he landed, and you could tell. But 3 minutes in that fight, Puna was bothered by these kicks were just chewing him up.
And something with fighters with tough chins, it's like that's why I'm such a big preacher of going to the body. It's like go to the body. It takes out the toughest guys.
Some of the old school boxers, the guys ripping the body, like you sap the will to fight. You sap your opponent's will to want to do anything when you start just killing their body.
Right.
Like you don't see it enough.
And outside of Adelaide Bird, who I think this is an appropriate criticism, but outside of that, I don't like the criticism that, like, at least in the year 2023, that MMA judges are just boxing judges, because I'm like, if they were, I would have cashed so many more tickets betting on the guy who's actual better striker / works the body, if that was the truth, if that was the fact, back to your point. So I will say that. Not saying you have to like the judges, I'm just saying don't throw that criticism, because that just pisses me off, because I'm like, no, I wish they were boxing judges for a lot of the fights that I come up short on.
Jonathan Pierce works the body a lot, and Jonathan Pierce also has great cardio, and you see in these third rounds of fights with Jonathan Pierce, it's like the level of stamina at that point. It's not just that he has good stamina, but he has just crushed his opponents like Tank. Yeah. He's like, yep, easy pickings. Even in the second round, he's like, yep, let's go. So
Absolutely. So, hopefully Puna takes some time off, something to try and, shore up there. Raquel Pennington, Caitlin Vieira, we just went over that one. Umar Nurmagomedov defeated Ione Barcelos. I would have, so by the way, I actually, in one house, I actually bet Ige by KO straight up, not just in the round robin, but straight up plus 300 for 0.33 units, which took me over into the black, but I didn't track it on my Action app, and I didn't post it. I don't know why. It just slipped me after, so I'm not counting it, so for whatever it's worth. But what bothered me more than that, than the actual bet that I cashed for peace of mind, was the fact that I still would have came in the black regardless of that if I didn't throw the little 0.33 unit same amount flyer on Barcelos. I saw the plus 700, Lou, and I couldn't say no. I picked Umar. I didn't see it to happen that way, but any thoughts on this one, Lou, coming in and out of it?
I don't think anybody saw him getting KO'd, but I laid off that completely because
smart.
I understand. Look, I love dog shots, and I understand it here with Barcelos, but yeah, I don't know, man. I still can't get the Victor Henry fight out of my head with him. Like, I know his skill set isn't that, but maybe it's too late for him. And Umar's obviously, like, they're pushing him so hard that, like, to just look like an absolute $1 million. Like, they don't make this matchup if they don't think he's going to steamroll him. But a KO, I was, a little stunned by the ending, but
I love it too.
But I figured 30-27, like, dominant, or maybe even a sub late, but not that.
That is a legit shot, by the way. Plenty of fighters do it. You see it more in Muay Thai. Chidi Ninja Kawani does that exact setup when he's going from southpaw. You'll see guys like I reference all the time in Muay Thai, like Siddhachai bodybuilding. So where you'll go front kick, front teep to the body. Thai teep to the body, and I'll do this. And actually, my Muay Thai coach actually trained me on this specific combo. So you get those reactions, and they're trying to guess, okay, or is he going to the body, or is he going to change it up low? Is he going to change it up high? And a lot of times you can throw maybe a body kick, maybe do that counterbalancing shot where you punch off the same side that you just kicked. So I do a power kick from the rear left, and as I'm setting my rear leg down from the kick, the rear chamber, I'm counterbalancing that action with a left from the same side. Another kind of similar principle going forward with that is, again, you establish the bodybuilding threat, some front kicks, some body kicks, you get them thinking there. And then when that front teep comes up as a knee, you get their reaction, their guard to drop here, and you just step down into a shifting straight. And that's actually something that my Muay Thai coach was drilling on me with my last camp. So when I see guys that are like actual, making it work, I'm like, oh, I get I suck, but I get why this is being taught to me, because it is a good technique. Now, do I see guys get ice from it? No, that's the first time I ever saw that, but it makes me happy because I love that combo that he threw. So to give Umar credit, it was improv, but it wasn't just wacky improv. Like, there was actual technique to that, I will say.
And he doesn't have the same complete upbringing that most of these guys from Dagestan does. Doesn't he have? If I'm confusing my Nurmagomedovs,
right? It's easy to do.
I think I'm thinking of the one in Bellator.
You are thinking.
And he has is it a Kempo background, or is it not a Kempo background?
Wushu Sanda.
He's a striker. I mean, he has a striking background that's learning wrestling, as opposed to a guy that grew up just grappling. He grew up
doing both. He is the one that's related to the Nurmagomedov. I would love to see him.
It is Bellator, though, right?
No. His brother's in Bellator is Usman Nurmagomedov.
I think Usman's the one that has a striking background. I'm confusing my Nurmagomedovs.
Yeah, they both have Wushu Sanda, which is like big, and then we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when we get to Shamil Abdurakhimov on the UFC 283 card. But a lot of times,
Shamazel.
Here's a lot of things. It's striking, and then obviously Sambo and freestyle wrestling are the major martial arts in those regions. Just because they have one doesn't mean they have the other, but most people assume everybody wrestles and that everybody is related to Khabib. Said Nurmagomedov, by the way, is not related. He is a strong striking background. That could be who you're thinking of. I would like to see him actually matched with Umar. Umar and Usman wrestled and came up with Khabib under that, but they also have Wushu Sanda. I don't know if they have Makhachkala in their bio, but folks at home, Lou, everybody listening, when you're looking at these Dagestani fighters and you see Makhachkala for their born or fighting out of, again, they all do everything at this point, but that region, particular in Dagestan, is really rich in Wushu Sanda strikers, so you see a lot of that.
It is Usman that I was thinking of.
Yeah, and their brothers. Usman fights at 55. And yeah, we'll see what Umar can do at 35. Speaking of 35, Javid Basharat defeats Mateus Medonkadonk. I didn't watch this fight.
That's my guy.
Yeah. Anything on this fight going in or going out? I like Javid too. He's really good.
I had him in a parlay, but I love him back from the Contender Series when Oren Kalin missed weight, then decided to turn around and call him a terrorist and scream and curse at him. And then Basharat just took his time, picked him apart, waited till there was 2 minutes left in the fight. I had him in the distance. I was never worried about it. Even as the fight got close, I'm like, nah, man, he's enjoying this like a sick bastard. And he's like, well, that's what you get for missing weight and calling me names.
Bastard.
And
yeah.
And I love I think Basharat, I said this on my show a couple times. I think I don't know if his ceiling is champion, but he's going to get a title shot at some point in his career. I think his ceiling is that high. I think his fight IQ is that high. The way he moves. And he's another guy, like, it's going to sound like a weird comparison comparing him to Peter Yan, but he's a dude who, like, he downloads data in the first. He doesn't look like, you're not impressed with him the first 3 minutes, but he's staying out of trouble. He moves really well laterally. And then if he wants to go to the grappling, he can, but he just prefers to stay on his feet. He hasn't shown finishing ability at the UFC level yet, but I think it's just a matter of time. He's getting his feet wet, and he's young, and he's learning. And his brother Fareed is fighting in, I believe, in March. He's on the March 24th card in San Antonio. I may be going to that card, but I'm really excited for like this new wave. He's super intelligent, and I think the sky's the limit for him.
I agree, and
He's grounded. Really well grounded too. I just wanted to get that out too. He's a grounded,
totally
not ego. Like there's no ego with him. You could tell I have so much to learn, but I'm super impressed with him.
All right, so I'm going to share something out here, Lou, and I got something in my ear. But I will share something on Basharat before we move on here. He's kind of the opposite of, Sean Strickland. We're talking about his sparring, how that made him able to kind of, wow, I am overloading myself. Can you hear me still, Lou?
Yes, I can. I was on mute.
Oh, okay. No, it's all good.
To respect you, I was on mute.
No, you're good. I just, I'm trying to share out the link still. I still haven't even shared it out from the show. I had it all set up pre-show because I'm pro, and then now trying to pull it up. It's funny, but people were talking about Sean Strickland's sparring, making it able for him to be able to step in on short notice. I will say Basharat, and again, I'm not going to pretend to know, nor would I share details, but I do see the man drilling a lot. And there's two different types of training. There's sparring, which you do need. There's a question of how much. Sean Strickland's obviously on the spectrum where he's doing a lot of sparring. I don't know how much drilling necessarily he's doing, whereas Basharat, like before the Gravely fight, you saw him, he grabbed a bunch of wrestlers, he had a bunch of high-level coaches, went and found a corner, just drilled get-up separations over and over again, and just watching him drill with that discipline is something I really admire. It's very much, the Russian wrestler kind of way of doing things. He's an Afghani, I'm not saying he's Russian, but just making that analogy for training. But yeah, I really like a lot about Yavid, so curious to see what happens with him. Let's speed break down the rest. Abdul Razak Al Hassan defeated Claudio Ribeiro, who I silly put in my round robin. I was just desperate for stuff, so I just put in Ribeiro by KO. And Al Hassan, man, by the way, I'm making a list, Lou. I don't know if you keep a list of fighters that you can't bet or on your no bet list, but I feel like Al Hassan, from betting to picking, I just don't think I ever get his fights right. Like, maybe I got his rematch with Sabah Homasi right, or maybe, like, the Sabah Homasi series. But, like, outside of that and, like, some maybe, like, more obvious ones further back, I'm terrible with this guy.
I did say I'm now one for Al Hassan after this fight. I just I wasn't impressed with Brady and I were doing the Contender Series show on our channel, and I wasn't impressed with Ribeiro's tape at all. And I know we came in and got a quick flash knockout, but I was not impressed with this guy previous to that. I wasn't going to be more impressed. You don't learn anything from a guy knocking somebody out in 20 seconds, which, ironically enough, is the mistake I made with Al Hassan for getting a flash knockout. I was really impressed with the third round of his fight against Buckley. He won the third round. His cardio held up. He was going for takedowns. He looked like an evolved fighter. His move to team elevation, I think, is huge. Like, I think he's learning. And I don't think he has a great ceiling, especially at his age. But this was a smash spot for me. And these odds were crazy. I don't understand why he shouldn't have been the underdog to a guy making his debut who's literally like a lesser him, like with the fight style. So, I bet it's so small because it's Al Hassan. I'm like, not going through this shit again. But I went through this shit again, and I'm like, all right. And I'll never bet an Al Hassan fight again. I'm walking away.
Yep, yeah, I put him on.
Taking the W and getting out.
Yep, smart man. I'm taking the L and just staying away. And this is another reason why, and folks who don't see the obvious humor in it, and whatnot, is why I kind of make fun of the betting community for like how they just rock hard. They can't wait to fade an older fighter. Like they see someone north of our age, Lou, or between you and my age. They're just like they're stiff like this. They're like, I want to go to multiple windows to fade this guy.
I'm old enough to remember when men were men and sheep were scared, young man.
But the point is like what I hate is when I become that person and I'm like, you know what? Let's see if you can't beat him, Lou, let's join him. I always get burned and the old guy gets beat and I'm like, Dan, your analysis was right, but your bet was wrong. So what does it matter? And I go, okay, you know what? I will pick the athletic and explosive Contender Series new hotness on the block over the aging fighter, which, by the way, Al Hassan's the same age as me, so I should have been like 37 crew with him and been like standing strong. But no, of course, I get what I deserve here, folks. Don't get it twisted. But this is also why I hate it, because when I do try to join all you young MMA gamblers who love fading the old people, when I do, I mush that line harder than anything, man. And I'm just reminded of why I love, phrasing, I love old dudes and experience. Easy. Veteran fighters. Anyways. All right, we're going to go through. Mateus Rebecki defeated Nick Fiore. Alan Nascimento, Carlos Hernandez. Daniel Argueta defeated Nick Aguirre. And Charles Johnson defeated Jimmy Flick. I only got an opinion on the one at the end there. I didn't really watch the others that closely. Any opinions on those 4 I listed off, Lou?
No, Rebecki's every other guy that throws. Look, I don't know. He's every other guy that just can throw a lot of hard punches in the first round, and then, that's it. I mean, I thought Fiore, a more impressive Fiore, just with Santa and anything else. Charles Johnson did what Charles Johnson's supposed to do there. It looked impressive. I forgot the other 2 fights even mentioned, but I had no bets on them. I don't have any opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, the only thing I had rounding in my...
That's the kind of analysis you can get on the MMA Engine channel. I don't know. You can
Nice.
get that kind of quality stuff over there.
Nice. The only thing I had an opinion on, because I had to play on, was... and a lot of people had an opinion on this one, to be fair, was Charles Johnson, Jimmy Flick. I put Johnson round 2 as
We all did.
round robin.
We all did.
Yeah.
We all did. 600. Mushroom and I had it. We were seconds away, because if that thing hit the second round, we're paid.
Yes, and I know people are saying it was inevitable, which is true. I don't think anybody's arguing that, but it's funny because, and again, I hate that I bet on these fights, Lou, because I would 100%.
No, you don't.
No.
You love it.
No, I love it. I'm just saying as far as giving this opinion, because it doesn't feel as strong, right? Because I have a bias, right? Kind of like we spoke with the Ige fight. It's like, oh, well, okay, maybe you're right, but you also have a bias. I will say, though, I'm like one of the last guy. I'm more of a safety guy. Like, stop it earlier than later. But there were people that were like me, who are the last people to say that, were like, wow, I hate to say it, but that was an early stoppage. And again, it was inevitable. And
it was a quick stop.
And even if you want to argue semantics of what was happening when it was stopped, which I still think is a losing argument, in my opinion, and many others, for what it's worth, I think what trumps that, even if you are ardent to defend the referee, not that I saw anybody doing that, but just if you are, I will say is that Kerry Hatley, he made a decision to stop that fight before it was stopped, and you see this happen with referees a lot, where they'll make a decision before they realize they made a decision.
He gave him a warning about 45 seconds before that sequence took place. Like, gotta see more, gotta defend. Like, if you go back in the tape, he said something in a previous exchange to Flick. So, look, I don't think Hatley's like a bad ref traditionally. I wonder if he just saw something in Flick's eyes in that earlier exchange that worried him. Because the last sequence, I don't think, because as much Johnson was thrown a lot, but not a ton of them were getting through. But he might have seen something earlier. And look, I give credit to like Jason Herzog, guys like this, that they actually care about the fighter's safety, and it's not just that last sequence that matters. So I wonder if Hatley just saw something in Flick's eyes that he did not like at all. And then Flick kind of got out of that previous exchange, and then when he went back on the ground and was getting pounded, he's like, I seen it. Like, I see where this is going. That's the only explanation I could possibly have. But Hatley is not a guy who traditionally like screws around with letting guys get in trouble.
Yeah, it's funny. He was more, and I think he's a good referee, and he's one of the few that you'll see doing double duty in Texas, which, not great, especially with the track record Texas has. But I would consider him one of the good guys, even when he's doing those dual nights, which I know is frowned upon, and I get why, where they're both officiating and judging. But I will say it's just ironic, kind of like with Chris Taioni. Remember when he was letting all those comebacks happen, like the Trevin Jones and Timur Valiev, and it was the Marab and Marlon Moraes, and it was always Chris Taioni, like, allowing these fights to draw out. He had that kind of run. Amidst that run, he had like an early stoppage, and I was like, of course, I bet on the fight where Taioni decides to stop it early, or, Guram coming up just short with Kudalaze against Damir Uzmagulov, where it's like, oh, of course the one time
I don't want to talk about that fight.
I know, me too. It's like, of course, that's the one time Herb Dean has eagle eyes for the fighter damage, of course. And this one too, again, Kerry Hatley not a bad ref, but I would say he is closer on the Mario Yamasaki side of the spectrum as far as letting people be warriors on stoppages. So that's why I was just like, when he already made the decision to stop it, I was almost laughing, Lou, because I knew what was coming. And again, I think he's a great referee, and I'm not trying to cry over spilt milk, although this would have been nice because that would have been 3 or 4 in the round robin. Massive, massive minutos there. I don't even know if I'm speaking Spanish properly. Probably not. Apologies. But listen, I will say, again, just to get this out there, I'm not accused. I think Kerry Hatley's a fine referee. But again, if we are going to, and I'm definitely not defending Krause and Jeff Molina or any of that stuff, but if we're going to, if the fighters are getting hit with the bill in literally every aspect of the sport that's designed to fuck them over, but we're all of a sudden going to start taking, gaming so seriously and change our policies for that. Not domestic violence, not saying anything about that, but we're gonna worry about our gaming policy so much, Lou. It is kind of. Sorry, it is kind of funny. It's like, shouldn't we maybe be? People throw this at the judges, but again, it's just like, these are human beings at the end of the day that don't get paid a lot of money. People talk about pointing the finger, but we don't talk about the symptoms of low fighter pay and things, and access to gambling, and the fact that this whole industry has been drowned with gambling. And again, every adult is responsible for their decision. I'm not defending people here, folks, right? But I am saying we do need to acknowledge these things, and it is kind of just funny. It's like I hope we're not only investigating the fighters here. I'll just say that. I'm not saying they need to investigate Hatley or the judges, but man, there are some really, really bad things to where it's like, okay, if we're using these bad things to track down fighter X and fighter Y, or former fighter Z, it's like, are we looking into other things too? I'll just leave that out there. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Like, it's, you see it in every sport. I mean, like in football, everything could be a hold. It's just a matter of when they call it. And it swings big money in gambling, So
yeah. And by the way, you could also be the Asian Bill Burr here. Bill Burr will always talk about the conspiracy theories the other way, where maybe they get paid too much, where the per games for these NBA refs. By the way, and that made me stop watching. By the way,
I'm more of a Norm Macdonald guy myself.
Hey, Norm.
And he went on Letterman one time, and Dave's like, "So I heard you quit gambling." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you really?" He goes, "Is betting on baseball gambling?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Football? Yeah. Ice hockey?" I guess. Then I haven't retired from gambling.
Yes, exactly. Nice. There we go. All right. Well, that was we're 51 minutes in. We're gonna finally get to the breakdown here, but that was we covered a lot of topics, I must say, and I just want to clean up the shouts before we finish up. I had the D-Love one in there. I want to shout out my guy Craig Allen at Craig Allen FNP. He, of course, is a co-host for Fight Night Picks, which you can find and subscribe if you're not already on YouTube. They have a fantastic show and channel at Fight Night Picks. Apparently, this year's program was nominated as one of the best podcasts. I don't know if they should be put in an asylum, or anybody should, for nominating this podcast as a best anything, but the fact that acknowledgement deserves acknowledgement. And I love Craig, man. I was on podcasts with him back in the day, and saw he started running his own channel. They do killer numbers, and well deserved so. You should go add to their numbers. He's got a great co-host there. They do a lot of good stuff. I'm weird about.
He's a Tottenham fan, though.
Is he?
He's a Tottenham fan.
Okay.
So I like him, but he's a Tottenham fan,
right.
And I will not abide by Tottenham fans on my timeline. No, I like Craig Allen, but he's a Tottenham fan.
I'll stay off the footy talk, but yeah, okay. Noted Tottenham fan, be warned. But
I'm sure he's miserable today, so it's fine.
I just wanted to give him love because I've been meaning to do that for a minute, and I didn't listen to see what they said about the show or anything we want, but just the fact that we were nominated means a lot. And I'm weird about listening to compliments and stuff. I'm weird about that stuff. Gifts, compliments, But I do want to give the other way. Also, shout out to my guy at Lynch Sports, James Lynch. Hopefully we'll get Lou back on here. But yeah, shout out to James Lynch, by the way, as well. He lost his. He got hacked, man. Everyone's been getting hacked. What the F? But follow his backup account on Twitter at Lynch Sports. And then backup YouTube is the same handle, so at least that's easy, at Lynch Sports there for that. Let's see if I can... I don't know. I think Lou's still there. It still says I'm on the call with him. Okay, he probably had to run for a second, which is all good. And I'm going to finish a couple more shouts here. We got my guy Luke, Luke Lamp, who I had on the show before. At SW, I can't even read the Twitter handle that I wrote because my handwriting's so bad. At SWR_betting. Luke brought to my attention, which we're going to get here in the headlining fight, Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira. I actually released the breakdown, had him at a purple belt. And Jamal seems like somebody who would, fuck you, William. He'd probably let me hear it anyways for picking against him. But, if you're gonna pick against these fighters and write about them, you gotta at least come correct and with respect. And I will say though, the UFC bio sheet still lists Jamel Hill as a blue belt. So hopefully he's not getting too mad at people who get the rank wrong. I saw an Instagram post that I missed, because a little bit before that he's got him getting promoted to a purple belt. But then there's one that's not so obvious, and he's like, let me set the record straight. It's a brown belt. And I'm like, why don't you set the record straight with your employers who still have you listed as a blue belt, man? Don't. So he is a brown belt, and but I want to shout my guy at SWR_betting, good dude Luke, who I had on this show. We're done.
That's my dude. That's my dude.
Nice.
I live for breaking him on every show that I've done by just saying insane shit. Like, I've broken him on Brady's show multiple times, like on the Saturday show. He is one of the... Luke has, like, an underrated sense of humor. He's sharp as hell.
He is very sharp.
His Twitter game's funny. Luke's, like, one of my... Honest to God, he's one of my favorite people.
He's
I was
awesome.
sad to see him leave. I'm sad to see him leave Club and Sub. I mean, I understand he's working with Brett Appley now. Luke's one of the best guys in the space. And, like, not that I don't know if he's going to watch this. Like, I don't need nothing from him.
Right. No.
And he knows that I'll just write him once randomly and be like, I'll just say the craziest thing I can think of, and he's like, "What?" And then that's, he loves it. He eats it up.
Yeah, I don't know if people are going to see these things either. I just try to get the shouts out. Though I feel like everybody tags somebody when someone, hey, this person's talking about you, or they tag people and they tag fighters on Twitter and stuff. It's like, pass along the positive things. Like, hey, these people say good things about you or whatever. Not that you need to do that for this show or whatever. But just a thought that I'm thinking out loud here, Lou. I just think of how many times we tag and bring attention for the negative. And, hey, we're shouting out some positive here, man. All right, so we got UFC 283 going down, as I going to try to remember the time schmamp right here at the 56 mark. Glover, the garage weight champion, former light heavyweight champion, taking on Jamel Hill, who, came up... out of Forrester's apartment, and has been a force to be reckoned with. Oh, wow, Dan, your terrible inside jokes for really unpopular references. Here we go. The odds on the fight, I believe we've got Hill, we got Glover. I was worried. The line was closing. I thought I was going to miss the dog boat. But now he's back up to like plus 120, which I'm not sure where it opened. And then we've got Hill as obviously your favorite, opened as your favorite. Again, line fluctuation, but currently you can find him in the neighborhood of minus 140 unless anything has drastically changed in the last hour. Lou, I want to kick it to my guest to kick off with this. I don't know where you're at on this fight. I think the top two fights, spoiler alert, are a bit tricky to be confident in, depending. But where did you land on this one?
I'm more confident in the next one we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Which is strange to say because it's a 1-1-1 series.
Right.
Man, I went back and forth this one a little bit, pre-tape. Ultimately, I think Jamel Hill, his day will come. It will not be Saturday. I think, the crowd is going to be interesting against him. This is his first time fighting out of the country. I realize that, like a lot of guys the last few years, really haven't opportunities out of the country. Going to England is one thing. I'm not ripping on England. But going to Brazil is a little different than going to England. Going to Brazil is you are walking, as you like old references, as Dokken would have said, you're going into the fire if you're going to fight there. I like his boxing. I'm not sure he's the better boxer here. I think he's the more powerful striker. I don't know if he's a better boxer. But unless he shored up everything that Santos was doing to him, man, I mean, I love Teixeira if he gets him down once. And with those long legs, if Teixeira just grabs one single leg, I don't know how. I mean, Hill's balance is really good. I'm impressed with his balance. And his cardio held up against Santos really well for all these takedowns he was put through. But Teixeira, man, not only is he going to get a takedown, but, you and I are old school. And, everybody, Blachowicz saying, like, oh, man, I had a neck injury before the fight. No, dude. You got put in a can opener for 3 minutes, and that shit sucks. That shit sucks. And if he does that to Hill's never been in anything like that. Like, I'm not saying just a can opener, but Teixeira, I know he's 43, I get it, but he's certainly got 10 minutes of cardio in him. I mean, he just had 25 against Prochazka, and like
fight.
And I have to bring up the Prochazka. Sorry, I'm itchy. My nose is like I have a huge Dago nose. So Dago nose.
What did we say about racial slurs?
Your Dago mustache and your greasy hair.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
There you go. I knew I'd know the line. So the thing about it is like, so when Teixeira faces Prochazka, he's facing a dude that has like crazy unpredictable striking. He's throwing up elbows. He could throw. I mean, he throws down the pipe. Like everything Prochazka does is like insanely violent. Hill throws violent stuff, but he's more traditional in his approach. And I think that Teixeira, again, I think Hill's going to have his day. I think there's better matchups, but I don't know that Hill has anything that Teixeira hasn't seen. And I think he's not going to just immediately shoot for a takedown. He's going to just time it right. So I like Teixeira to win. I honestly don't bet in the distance here, even though it looks like, it looks obvious. You're only getting 30 cents more to do it. I saw plus 150 in the distance. It's plus 120 money line. Like, don't get greedy. People did that with Ngannou against Gane and paid for it. Like, don't get greedy for 30 cents. But I have round 2 submission at plus 1,000. I think that if he takes his time, I mean, he did it to Blachowicz. If he takes his time in the first round, even if the first round is just exploratory and he's getting his timing down, he's going to get Hill down in the second. He's going to show Hill a style that he probably hasn't. I mean, I know Hill trains with good guys, but you know who Teixeira's training with right now? The champ, Alex Fajeda. So
Poetan, baby.
So I don't know that Hill's going to be able to show him anything that he hasn't seen, and I think it's just a matter of time. So round 2 sub at plus 1,000 is a prop that I have. It's a prop that I'm considering, and then maybe bet, as the show on the MMA Engine channel is called. But I love Teixeira here. I don't love it. It's a tough fight, but I like Teixeira. I have a bet, strangely enough, on Hill, but this is in the Cody Saftik progressive parlay realm where I'm gonna I have the intent to hedge. So I don't know how strong I'm gonna add to my position, but I like Teixeira here, and I like him within the first 2 rounds, but probably round 2 sub.
I hope you're right. I think I picked round 2 or round 3. I know I took a round 2 flyer for plus 1,000, but I hate these lines, man. You know, they were giving out plus 1,000 for just round 2 straight in most houses against Yuri. You know, a fighter who was more wild to throw him out of position to get subbed, and arguably less reliable and less of a sample size of a gas tank than Hill, yet they're posting plus 1,000 for just straight round 2s, yet they're down to 400 or 600 against Hill, who's arguably a harder ask. And I say that because I feel like I'm picking Glover and I'm on the same side, and I played Glover, spoiler alert. I believe that's posted publicly. That's the only bet I have, so it's the only thing logged on Action account, and my work is out. But basically, I do think, though, in spite of those picks, that Jamal Hill's wrestling and grappling is underrated. He did start in those areas, and I actually like his instincts a lot. As far as grip separation, keeping wide, reading shots in the open. His hips aren't terrible. They don't just collapse in or anything like a Darren Till or something, the fold over or anything. I really like it. You mentioned his balance. That was a great note, Lou, that I agree on. He has really good balance. And his cardio impressed me. I know he's went 5 rounds on the regional scenes before, but going, 4 rounds with Thiago Santos, who's been fighting super frustrating, but in that fight, to Thiago's credit, he did try to get more aggressive. It's just I think he's broken, and his kicks and his knees and all the things we're probably speculating about him are probably true. So how his aggressiveness ended up turning up in that fight was a wrestling fight. And when you look at the stats, it's like, wow, control time and takedown stats. And you go, if Thiago Santos did that, what's Glover Teixeira going to do? And ultimately, you're not necessarily wrong, right? But like I always say, stats can be misleading because if you actually look at the takedowns and the control time, it wasn't like, Thiago Santos was on top and transitioning all around. It was usually, failed takedowns that took a lot of energy, and then when he did get him down, he couldn't really hold him down, and there was just a lot of slow, negative, stymieing, installments of those processes going from top to bottom, where neither fighter really gets a ton done. And against an aging Glover who is, subject to bad weight cuts. I know he didn't want to make an excuse the last time, but it was the body shots. But certainly, a weight cut and body shots don't don't hurt, and the body shots in particular, because Glover, he's not like a reliant shell guard, but he does keep a high guard variation and he pressures. And if you pressure and you come forward with somewhat of a high guard, like Eddie Alvarez told us in his post-fight after Justin Gaethje, the way to stop that pressure is body work. And whether it went back to look against orthodox or southpaw strikers, body work was something that landed on Teixeira. Now, Teixeira's defense, he's 4-0 against UFC-level southpaws. Now, in that, he actually has a decent...
Great stat.
Yeah, it's a great stat. And actually, you know, the classic southpaw weapon, like the left straights or the head kicks, right? Those things, whether it's a Crow Cop head kick or a Connor Cross, these classic southpaw weapons, Glover actually has a really good radar, and he's seldom ever hit by those. However, southpaw body work hurts him. And if you look at that fight against Yuri, who Yuri is not a part of that stat, right? Because Yuri switched stances, but Yuri starts letting him up in round 3 between minute 3 and 4. With a bunch of, like, every southpaw weapon. And that kind of fucks up this look, right? You're like, well, no, the most relevant southpaw look, he's getting fucked up. But again, back to Glover's reasoning and reason number 1,000,000th why people like me, Lou, and whoever are proven right for valuing body work is because Glover actually gets hit with a jump knee, the same knee that Jamal Hill actually does. And he gets hit with that by Yuri, and that fucks him up. That's what Glover's citing for the reason why he ends up losing the fight. He never ever really recovered from that knee, and you can see him start getting fucked up by every southpaw trick in the book. Thiago Santos, off the break, was able to hit him with a check right hook, but again, it's off the break. How much of that is a stance battle, right? It was kind of a quick off of a break of grappling. And as I always say, check right hands is the weapon, the James Krause, the weapon that a southpaw shouldn't leave home without. So the check right hook, in other words, folks, and the body work from Jamal Hill, if something does Glover in, that's what it's going to be. And it could happen in not even just the first 2 rounds after seeing Hill's cardio. Again, I want to give Hill credit here, but ultimately, when you look at where Hill was taken down the most in his career, from what we've seen in the UFC, against Santos, those came against the cage. And where does Glover get most of his takedowns? Against the cage. Where does Glover pressure to in the feet? Against the cage. And the most important linking piece to all this, in my opinion, is cage position for Hill. Where does it fit in that equation? Unfortunately for Hill, who can still win here, he's still favored to win, folks. But as far as this analysis goes, unfortunately for Hill, he is too easy to back himself up against the cage. Whenever fighters try to force him there, he will go there. I forget what fighter it was.
Because he trusts his power off his back foot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fight where he has a fighter against the foot, against the fence, Lou, and I even think it's in the big cage, and he has him hurt and dropped, and that fighter is able to get up and able to pressure him all the way clear across to the other side of the cage with a crap takedown that they don't even get. The fact that fighter,
I think it might have. No, it wasn't the Crute fight. It was.
Might have been. No, not Crute. Crute ended too fast.
It might have been OSP.
It wasn't the OSP fight.
Right,
that might have happened in that OSP fight.
I am plumb out of fights to mention.
Sorry. I'll find it right now. I gotta see it. That's the whole thing. You especially these 15 fight cards, 30 fighters.
Oh, wait, what would you cap Prochazka against Hill at? Is Prochazka minus 200? Is he higher?
Sorry, actually, I think it might have even been Johnny Walker, which is even more condemning.
Oh God.
What would I cap Prochazka at? What was that question, Lou?
Against Prochazka against Hill, what would you cap? I mean, Prochazka's got to be considered the favorite there.
What
would you cap?
I'm not sure what they would cap, but I would strongly look to bet.
What would you cap him at?
I would bet it at, probably responsibly, shit. I would probably bet.
Is he a 2-1 favorite?
No, not 2-1. I would make Hill the favorite actually, but I don't know if I'd be in the odd of that because it just Prochazka, he's got an allergy to southpaws who can throw the left, which is why I picked Reyes against him. Reyes just didn't have the durability to get it done, as we've seen.
If you're gonna give me Prochazka as the dog, I'm like my whole role is on that fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I would actually take Hill in that fight. And Hill, if you listen to Hill, by the way, Lou, he constantly has been mentioning Prochazka in like every interview for like over a year now.
He must want to die.
I think he sees what I see. I think he sees what I see. That southpaws, despite the result to Reyes, like that, a southpaw who knows what they're doing, really knows what they're doing, can really fuck Prochazka up because he just dips naturally into all the southpaw weapons. He has even though he switches stance and he's crazy, he has like a hard wrestle boxer dip that throws him right into left hooks, and which is part of the reason why I picked him against Glover and whatnot. But yeah, I think
he'd win by Eddie. He'd win by Eddie Gordo button mash. That would be the way he wins that fight.
Listen, I'm more of a Yuri fan, so I'd be happy.
He'd hit some combo that even the developers of Tekken didn't realize was in the game. It's like, oh shit, he hit circle, triangle, R2 at the same time, and just hit kicks him from the ground above the cage.
Eddie Gordo just button mashing.
And Prochazka's like, yeah, we worked on that in camp. Like, I thought I could pull it off. Dude, he's so good, man. Like,
me too. I love him. I love him too.
I love him.
I do.
And so I just can't believe he'd ever be an underdog. But if you want to give me an underdog price against Hill, like literally, this is like.
Oh, Prochazka's.
I'll make the bet that Bet MMA doesn't believe I'm making. They're like, what do you mean you're betting 11 units over and over? I'm like, yeah, all of it. The only bet I'm making on the card.
Yeah, that's
a lot.
See, that's a hard one.
That's the only bet.
I would bet Prochazka as a dog against anybody. I love Prochazka. I don't think he would be lined as a dog against Hill. I'm just telling you what I see, and that's a hard one because I feel like I've got a weird angle on that the fighter himself sees. Which, granted, fighters are going to believe in themselves, obviously, but I don't know. We'll see there. Real quick, I want to get to someone at Rain Lamina asks, do you follow Invicta? Do you like the new 125-pound champion? Is that a real name, or do I say it and I get Michael Bisping and ended up on Bohachinian Depot? But yeah, I posted the name up there. My Cleat O'Reese. So no, that's right. I got Bisping. There we go. See, there we go.
I feel like that's she's a great contender. Powerful ground game.
You know what?
Maybe not a couple of days in the month.
Yeah. No. You know what? I wanted to pull that up too. By the way, in all seriousness, folks, I know Invicta. I think they recently had a card. I don't follow them closely unless I have to backtrack to watch things. But I will say this, folks. Like, seriously, try to watch, pick a regional show that's not the UFC and follow it. Like, you'd be surprised how much fun you can turn into your own little hipster and maybe make some money off that when you actually scout the good talent coming up, and you can get the jump on those lines, because again, you'd be surprised how much good talent is out there, folks. It's crazy. Shout
out to my girl Jill DeCourcy.
Yeah, there we go.
Shout out to my girl Jill DeCourcy.
That's right.
One of the cooler Twitter accounts too. She's very interactive with her fans.
Yeah, she is.
She's so cool. She's so nice. So happy. She came through as a dog. Gave us that bag. I bet her with no tape. I'm like, yep, just bet my girl. Did not think she was gonna get a first round finish. Unbelievable.
Yep, shout out to her as well. I think we follow each other on Twitter too. But yeah, she's really interactive. Seems real cool. My guy Ghost Phantom is talking about some body shot stuff. But Ghost, you mentioned earlier in the chat. I want to push forward, and I'm going to timestamp for the co-main event here in a second. But you said you had some inside information. If you want to post it publicly, that's all you, buddy. I got nothing to do here. Anybody following me, I'm not going to get James Krause. This is just some random guy on the internet that showed up on my chat. You don't have to listen to him. I'm not saying it's credible. Who knows who this person is? But if you want to share any inside information, you go ahead and pop that in the chat, Ghost Phantom, and you're a long-time person. I'll give you some love here. But anything on the main event before we move on to that co-main event, Lou?
Nope.
All right, co-main event time, baby. Let's see what we got. 112. Oh, Jesus. 112, 31. Yeah, we got... we'll push through the fights that me and Lou didn't, and we'll be honest about the fights that we didn't dive deep or have strong opinions on. No problem there. But these ones we kind of will. This one's been pretty much even for the most part, but a little bit of money is coming on Moreno now that the limits have opened up. I imagine we won't see any moves.
That's not why.
Until why'd it come in, Lou?
Because people are looking at this Figueiredo picture,
yes.
He looks so sucked out.
That's what. It's the early window before anybody wants to bank on Figueiredo looking bad. Because if they look bad, the line, and if they're liking Moreno, spoiler alert, me, even though I'm not betting it as far as the pick goes, maybe that persuades them to bet it, right? And then you miss the boat on the line. So that I agree with Lou there. It's probably a lot of early representative money, what that represents. That money represents, I should say. And like I said in my Action Network article, I laid out some angles for this, Lou. We'll get into any angles you have, but I suggested everybody should just wait until weigh-ins to really bet this fight, unless, again, you are trying to be the aforementioned, you like Moreno, You feel strong about a side you want to get in before the money comes in on him. If we get a bad Figgy win, I get it. I'm not hating you. But I feel like you should wait to weigh-ins to bet this fight. I revealed my hand. I ended up picking Moreno. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but I want to see where Lou's at on this one.
Sorry, I don't know why, like, I should know how to use a computer. I am a programmer for like, goddamn years.
That's right.
So I'll make this one short and sweet and just hand it over to you because I thought your article today was awesome, spot on. I favor Moreno here. I realize it's a weird fight to cap because we've never been in a situation with a 1-1-1 series. And one of my guys on Twitter, and I can't remember who, said, I have to bet yam bags here, and I'm not. We'll get to the yam bag bet coming up. Of course, I'm going to tell you which it is.
Yeah.
It's not this because he goes, if it's yam bags, the rare 1-1-1-1 quadrilogy. I'm like, oh man, I maybe out of principle I have to. So I think this is the last time we see Figgy at this weight. I think he's going to move up. In all fairness, I feel like this is going to sound like such a weird thing to say, but Moreno having that one fight against Kaikara France, he looked great. But him, just the fact that he's been more active, like Figueiredo has faced nobody but Moreno in 19 years or whenever this thing started. And now at least Moreno, like he's, and look, and he got away from the whole Kraus camp. And I know that's like kind of a narrative factor here, but man, like, Dale, Punch List MMA, my guy Dale, you gotta know Dale.
Not sure. Maybe if I see the handle and stuff, I'd recognize it.
Dale's a maniac too, but he said it's weird that we all like Moreno because he plays with Legos and he's like, just one of the guys. I'm like, or people just hate Figgy. And I think a lot of people are just like, kind of don't like Figueiredo. And I think also some of these people, 10% of them confuse him with his brother, who's probably cost them a lot of money against, the Iron Chin, Melvin Gordon. But I just think Moreno, I feel like this is his weight class. I feel like it was the Kaikara France fight. He showed I just love his fuck it style. I really do. I love the way Moreno fights, especially since obviously taking a little step away from the UFC and coming back. I love the way he fights. Figueiredo, I kind of feel like we know what we're getting from him. There's not going to be any adjustments. Moreno is way more liable, especially changing camps, to have adjustments, to learn more from the previous trilogy. I think he gets it done. I don't know if he gets it done in the distance. You doubt it, but he's plus 300. I think it's good odds for a 5-round fight where maybe he's got new tricks up his sleeve. But I favor Moreno here. I do have a bet on him. I have a sizable bet on him too. I got it right when the market moved and it went to minus 120. I'm like, I'm on it. I missed the boat getting it. I missed a little bit of CLV, but it kind of made me feel so much better about my stance on it.
I know what you mean, and you know what? To be honest, kind of like I said in my breakdown.
And check the chat, by the way. If I have to get up and pee, which I do now,
okay,
check the chat so I don't have to say it on the video.
No worries.
Yeah.
Apologies. I feel you there. The inside information. Let's see. Ghost Phantom says. By the way, this is. I'll repeat this here for Lou, but I want to get these shouts here done. Eddie Cha had the hardest time with him just because of Figgy's stance not being able to bounce in and out of range. Wow. Okay. And then above again, this is just this is people from the internet, folks. This isn't me. Sharing this. We got Jared Curie says word. Olivas and Santino said Figgy was both a complete menace as well as able to stay consistently focused. Okay. Again, this is who knows, right? These are just we got here we go. We got I gotta read it in order there. And we got Ghost Fam originally said Figgy during drilling had a hard time focusing. They would be drilling single leg defense. He'd do it perfectly 9 out of 10, and then the 10th time he'd roll for a heel hook. That sounds like Figgy for sure. And I hate that those kind of decisions paid off for him. When I bet Alex Perez, who that was bad of me. We got he says in 2021, Eddie Cha and Santino mainly focused on trying to keep Figgy focused because during sparring he would just do crazy things. Sounds like Figgy. And that's where that third message popped up that I read first, where Ghost Phantom says Eddie Cha had the hardest time with him just because Figgy's stance and not being able to bounce in and out of range. So they didn't click at the very least. At the very least. Lou, basically they're just saying coaches didn't click.
I had my headphones on the whole.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Cool.
I'm a professional.
You are. You're the man. Ghost Phantom adds, striking-wise, Cha had him strafing to Moreno's right to draw out the jab and counter with calf kicks. I saw that. I thought that was good. The problem was getting Figgy to stay disciplined, he says. Not me. Yes. Yeah. Again, even though it was a good game plan and he rightfully won, in my opinion, in the first, in the third, and I even scored the first fight for him for whatever that's worth. You could also throw pacing criticisms toward his way as well as Moreno's, which again falls into discipline, right? And discipline's going to be huge for both. Obviously, defensive discipline, more specifically for Moreno with those leg kicks that we saw in the third fight. But that is interesting. Ghost Phantom says, "Word, I'm just a random dude on the internet." You take that in the spirit that it's meant. I love you, Ghost. I'm just, for all protections. I don't know who's investigating who and whatnot. So I'm just trying to keep my butt and others safe. Just we don't need any inside. This is no insider trading podcast or anything like that. But hey, man, this is you're free to type what you want.
Call my 1-900 hotline for insider tips.
Yep.
If it seems like it's hot in here, it's just my picks.
Okay. And apparently they said it on their own pod. I know Santino DeFranco does his own picks and betting podcast.
Oh, it's great. Oh, they're hysterical.
Are they going to be able to keep doing it with the thing that dropped today with coaches not being able to?
Well, they just tell you who they like to win the fight. They're not like. They're pretty fucking funny though.
Nice.
They're
nice.
They're very funny. Like, and Levis is hysterical to me on Twitter. Like, he's ridiculous. Like, he's just one of the guys. Like, he's just one of the guys that knows how to fight. But he's one of the guys. See, they're both like they have good chemistry. Like, they're really funny pod.
Nice. I hear nothing but good things, and I definitely try to give at least Santino shouts when I know Cejudo or Albaicin will get a lot of the credit.
Fun fact: that Friday when all the Kraus stuff dropped, it was about a half an hour before Monk and I went on the air. We go on at 5:30 on Fridays. It's about a half an hour. I had some talent juice across the street at the bar, but Olivas, because I like to bust his balls, was in our chat, and I just sent him a link. I'm like, hey man, you just want to come on and talk about all this? He's like, yeah. So he did the whole show with us, like out of nowhere for like an hour. He was so cool to spend his time doing that. He had some really cool things to say. And then he gave like quick picks, and he's like, and if he trains with a guy, he's like, I won't pick the fight. Like he's like, nope, whatever. But he was good for him, man. He was cool. He was so cool to us. Like, I appreciated what he did.
Nice. Yeah, it's tough to do. So I'm definitely not hating and appreciating, if anything. So shouts to them. But yes, this fight. I'm gonna wait until I don't know, man, because part of me thinks like I officially picked Moreno by decision, but like. If Figueiredo looks bad on the scale, like maybe I go sprinkle
hammer that ITD prop.
Or sprinkle rounds 3, 4, and 5, because even we've seen Sick Figueiredo make it to round 3 still, and we've seen Sick Figueiredo arguably win the first fight still, right? So again, this guy's compromised, which is why I'm picking against him. But despite his winning conditions from a technical standpoint, he has to walk a fine line. He has to walk a fine line to get to the scale. And the fight night healthy,
sure.
The fact is the madman can still win despite these things not going his way.
Dangerous.
So we always have to admit that.
By the way, if you're gonna do it, you bet round 5 and not round 4. Do you know why?
What's that?
Because round 5 pays more.
Well, that definitely.
And that's a pro tip for free. That round 5 pays more than round 4.
There are people of the school of thought that goes, well, if it goes round 5, it's probably going to go the distance. So instead of betting the over 4.5, if that was an angle, that seems like on paper maybe the safest angle, maybe you just bet fight goes to the decision for a little better price, which isn't that much of a better price, by the way, folks. But there is that logic out there, though there are guys like Teixeira who, despite should have the on-paper advantage in later rounds, the guy's been finished multiple times in the 5th round. So and I still got a plan to share there. And again, not to be wishy-washy, but again, I'm going to wait for weigh-ins. Anything else on the co-main event before we move on?
Nope. And
Okay.
some of these fights coming up, I will have about a 45-second breakdown.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll speed through a lot of these. I like. You're reading my mind here, sir. You're reading my mind.
Except for the Yam Bags fight, I will talk about that exhaustively.
All right. Well, there's
great detail.
Well, we got some Yam Bags here. We got some older references here, Lou. Let's see if you follow me on this one. I should have said. How about Gilbert Burns at -460 coming out at the press conference, looking like a Brazilian My Buddy doll? Did he not?
He definitely looked like a G. That hair is a thing. I have no bet on this. I won't even bet him submission. I would, this is the kind of fight at these odds I'd totally bet Magny split decision, but they're in Brazil. He ain't getting any home cooking here. As a purist. Like, you're a purist, right?
Sure.
People that aren't purists. Like, I don't know that I'm a purist or not. I love the sport. I've watched it for a long time, so I appreciate Magny. I know you appreciate Magny, the way he wins these fights just by guile and craft. Like, he's not knocking dudes out. He's barely doing enough, but he finds ways, and I'm so impressed by that. I'm so impressed that his career, there's a parallel universe where he's 2-9, but he just finds ways. But I think Burns is going to come at him hard in the first. He may cardio dump, but even if Magny, his style, judges hate his style, and I think Burns wins, but you can't get to -500 here. And I know Magny's been finished a bunch, but talking Shavkat, come on, dude, Shavkat's I'm talking about how much I like Yuri. Shavkat's going to be right there soon enough. It's Burns probably wins by decision, but I can't get to -500 here. And in terms of a technical breakdown, I'll leave that to you. Burns is going to have. I don't think Burns' wrestling is great, but if he gets top control, I don't think Magny gets out. But Burns kind of just likes swinging now, man. I think he just wants to get up there and swing and put on a show. And honestly, if he does that, can't Magny just press him against the cage and make this the grossest, ugly fight? I don't think Magny should be +460 here or whatever, +4 in the +400 range. I think the line's really wide here.
Yeah,
and it's based on the Khamzat fight, by the way. This line, if the Khamzat fight never happens, Burns is probably -250 here. But that Khamzat, him, no moral victories, but that fight kind of is the reason, I think, and being in Brazil. This fight's in Vegas. Maybe it's not fun. But this line is crazy to me. How can you feel so good about -500 here? Yeah,
it opened at -285, which I agree with more. The inflation, you're right. How much of that is from the Khamzat Chimaev fight,
All of it is from that fight.
Still got a little
10% maybe being in Brazil. But come on, man. That's disrespectful to Magny.
Yeah, you're right. It is, but if we took the black light, you'd probably be right. We took the black light to Burns, there'd be a lot of we'd see the rub from Khamzat Chimaev on him, right? So you're right. That probably does inflate the line. I will say, the wrestling doesn't worry me as much, and I guess I could see why from a stylistic point, because even though I agree, Burns, both statistically, is wrestling. He's improved it, but statistically, it's not great, and defensively, he's improved some fundamentals. He was able to stop 2 takedowns from Woodley, but Woodley, not much of a takedown threat, especially later in his career. Damian Maia went 2 for 2, but the positive takeaway there is Damian Maia has much better top wrestling control, mat grappling, jiu-jitsu, however you want to classify the phases of grappling. The fact that Burns was able to create scrambles and not let those, get to some quote-unquote bad positions for other people, and able to get free there. That was also in Brazil, where he's won more than he's lost, even though he's lost at home. And Magny was lost there more than he's won, but he's also won there as well. But yeah, I'm not too much worried about the wrestling and the grinding. I don't think that's as much of a threat here. And I think that's why you see people hitting the gas on the line, because you also see something that I saw with Magny, where Daniel Rodriguez was not a fighter that I should be picking against Magny, and I didn't. I believe I picked Magny, even though I took that week off. But it was close because I felt like Magny, which makes sense. He's hitting with the 13-year mark as a pro. He's been fighting since 2010 and has a lot of miles. So about the 10-year mark is when the fighters really, you got to start watching them. They could either be in their primes, right, or between 10 to 13. Once they hit 14, for sure, they're definitely on the downfall. Even if they're like Brazilian warhorse, you got to at least downgrade them a peg. Magny, ton of miles, year 13, and I've been seeing a lot of that. And again, back to cage positioning. More importantly, Magny doesn't mind putting his back to the fence. And that's fine because he draws guys in who either clench him because they crowd their own strikes, or he changes levels, crowds into them, and all of a sudden he doesn't have to fight to get him very far to the cage because a la Tyron Woodley, he's been hanging out there the whole time. The problem is not only when you get a guy who can avoid that or makes you walk forward, like even a Max Griffin, who's not a great wrestler, but he made Magny walk forward, is that guys are getting better at striking Magny as well. Whether it's checking hooks, something Gilbert Burns has, knocked Damian Maia out with, almost knocked out Khamzat Chimaev with it in round 2. And then he also has leg kicks, which he mixes a healthy amount in. Even in that Chimaev fight, where Chimaev was switching stances, fighting a lot from southpaw, Burns doesn't really care what stance you're in. He will attack the lead leg. I think that's going to be great for Magny. But back to what you said, the prices suck. We've been priced out. And most of the houses, unless you were at a house that doesn't make you choose, Parker, choose, like Willem Dafoe there, the only bet I that was the best bet to me was like that plus 150 opener for inside the distance on Burns. If you got any plus money on that, I think that was definitely the play. Now you have to choose between KO and sub. So what I might do, the only thing I'll do, Lou, is I'm not a parlay guy. I hate parlays. I haven't parlayed in forever. But I'll tell you what, I've got a 4-leg on pause here that equals plus money, and I got to finish researching a leg and a half.
Juice boy.
But this could be because I don't like a lot on this card so far.
A John Kelly special juice boy.
Yeah, I could be putting four chalky legs here, and Burns will be one of them.
I think it's the kind of card where, like, look, man, if you want to get to like Almeida. Like, I almost think you kind of have to make a play. I have a juice boy already in.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely someone that could be on there, but he doesn't give you too much value right now. But no, I actually made a 4 legs without him. That's plus money, but I could swap him in, maybe still get plus money. We'll see where I end up. I'm not. It's nothing official yet.
Does it pay more? If you put him in, does it pay more?
It'll pay less if I swap him out for somebody because his.
But Dan, Tom, does it pay more?
I know what you mean. We'll see.
If it pays more, I love it. I don't like it. I love it.
Yes. Yeah.
Now you're learning. You're learning the language.
We'll see where I end up on that one. But I get what you're saying. And but another guilty potential leg on that parlay. We'll see. I got to get to this one. Obviously, I'm leaning toward the favorite in Jessica Andrade, who is minus 490 with the comeback on Lauren Murphy, plus 390, 132. Anything on this fight, Lou?
Yeah, Andrade is gonna fuck her up, man. Like, and I love Lauren Murphy, and I respect that she has hung around this sport, gotten some like weird wins that she didn't deserve, like Joanne Wood, just to name one. But man, Andrade is just gonna. Anywhere this fight goes. You know what's funny is Murphy, like, if this wasn't in Brazil, again, like with Magny, I'm auto betting Murphy split decision because she wins weird split decisions. But I think she is going to get annihilated on the feet. If this hits the ground, she's going to get annihilated. I think Andrade gets her out of there. I like her so much better at the same her and Burns at the same money line, give or take a few pennies. I like Andrade so much more here. The skill level, anywhere this fight plays, the skill level is just so disparate. So, smash spot for Andrade. I don't love these kind of juicy parlays. She's safe here. She's very safe here.
Yeah.
What is Murphy gonna do? Like, just survive? Like, if she survives, that's great. And Mike's MMA picks, my guy Mike, who never bets plus odds shit, bet her plus money in the distance. That should tell you everything you need to know. If he's betting a plus odds prop, That should tell you what you need to know. That's the best analysis they'll ever give you. He's betting a plus odds prop.
Can you still get it at plus odds? And I don't know what Murphy's going to do, and I don't know what Andrade's going to do. That's why I want to look at it.
I think she was plus 125. I'm looking right now because I got it up. Andrade.
But that's the thing is,
plus 110 on DK.
I won't say too much because I don't want to get myself too excited and give myself some confirmation bias searching for a route because I see a number I like. But yeah, that is the reason. But people are like, why would you tape study Andrade-Murphy? You know who's going to win. First of all, shout out to my guy, striking coach Sean Madden, Muay Thai striking coach, working with I believe Lauren Murphy and others and stuff. So she's got a good camp with her. Lauren Murphy, super underrated. I've always been a kind of a low key fan of her, regardless if I'm picking her or not. So all respect in the world. But yeah, I want to dive in to see to see what if it's worth choosing Parker, to try to find a method there. But it feels like Smash City for parlay purposes. So yes, she is one of the four in my potential. Again, folks, don't run to the bank off my potential parlay. And then really quickly touching back to something Ghost said, have you seen Gilbert Burns work the body? Yes, not as much as I'd like, but he does throw a nice body kick in open stance. He was spamming that a bit in the Chimaev fight. But again, that was when Chimaev went southpaw. Magny doesn't go southpaw that much, so maybe we see even less body work, which is always a bad thing, right? So wanted to mention that. But yeah, I got Andrade here that I'm leaning toward. I wish I could say more. As far as where to lean to get specific, I'll probably add something if I do. I respect Mike's MMA picks a lot, so that's a really good point there, Lou. But don't be surprised to see Andrade in parlays come Saturday. Mushrooms.
I'm writing something absolutely ridiculous. In
all good, right all good. What's up, Mushroom? What's going on? Good to see you, my man. Hopefully the Combat Chronic guys got you sorted out there. I think if you were the same one that was...
I've dated a few girls that are Lauren Murphy in my life, and they are fantastic. But it's short term. It's like, all right, Barb Honchak, I gotta get out of here.
Oh my God!
Yeah, all right, Barb.
I was just gonna say like Lauren Murphy looks like she parties, and then once I found out that she used to like be a heroin addict that partied too much, I felt bad for making that joke generalization. Yeah. But
I know, but
she parties though, right?
That's like I don't do heroin. I never have in my life, but that's like probably when I dated her.
Sure.
And she's like, you're very handsome. I'm like, yeah. You got a car, you got an apartment. Let's go.
Get it.
We don't got to go to my place. Let's go.
Get it.
Go.
All right.
I'm a classy guy.
He's classy, not trashy.
I'm paying the bar tab. I'm classy. I'm paying for the tab.
All right. On that note, let's go to classy Paul Craig, who's plus 160 underdog. Johnny Walker minus 190. I'm in the middle of taping this fight right now, and the only thing off the surface level I notice is that obviously when you get to like the Justin Ledets of the world, or I love Misha Serkinov to death, but obviously that outcome not crazy when it happened, definitely not crazy the way it's aged. But after you get past those stretch of fights and more into Johnny Walker's recent block, you think that okay, this fight you stay off the ground and you keep it standing. But if you look at since those fights for Johnny Walker, every fight that he's been able to stay grappling free, he's gotten like iced pretty much if you look at it in recent history, which is kind of funny. And, as if Johnny Walker or the sport isn't volatile enough, basically, Lou, I'm going to throw it to you. I don't know where I'll end up, but I'm pretty confident to say regardless of what my pick will be, I feel like this is dog or pass territory. Am I crazy? Where are you at on this one, Lou?
So, what's Walker's win condition? Either a flash knockout,
right,
or you worry that he will not go into the guard of Paul Craig. So what you're saying is he's minus 190 to not do something stupid. How can I trust Johnny Walker at minus 190 to not do something stupid? He hasn't earned that with me. I can't say he's not going to have bad fight IQ and do something dumb. Paul Craig is, I famously posted this the other day, my favorite stat, he's 9-2 in fights he's lost. Like, it's that simple.
I love that.
So here's the thing. Walker's, I don't trust his fight IQ. He's just coming off a submission victory. Like, is he stupid enough to think he can do it again? Is he cocky enough to be like, oh, I'll go down, I'll play on the ground with him, like, no problem. I mean, Misha Serkinov was like murdering Paul Craig, and he still came up with a submission. Like, was murdering him.
Right.
Like, they almost stopped it. And he's like, no. He's like, no, don't stop it. I got him where I want him. I mean, I know Walker hits like a ton of bricks, but again, you mentioned like Justin Ledet. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, Craig's pretty tough. Like, again, Craig's a guy that got battered by like Jamal Hill and somehow found a sub. Is Walker stupid enough to go to the ground? Yes, he is. I think you just bet the under as a parlay piece. It's minus 185. It's under 1.5. If this thing goes over 1.5, then I'm an idiot, I guess. But like, it's either like I don't do prize picks. Like, I can't in Pennsylvania, but I had to give a pick for the DFS show I did yesterday with the boys, and I had Walker under 21.5 strikes or 22.5 strikes because there's no world where he lands that many and it's not over. If he lands 20 strikes, he's knocked out Paul Craig. Or he was dumb enough to hit him once and go to the ground, and he's dead. So, I mean, tapping out, the Hulk, the pride of Moldova, Mr. Kutiaba, is very different than Paul Craig, whose literal win condition is you follow him to the ground. So, ironically enough, that's the first shoey bet I ever lost. Paul Shaughnessy is I had Paul Craig.
I saw that. That was great. That was a great exchange. Shouts to Paul Shag.
Well, I would argue it was not great.
Well, not great for you, but it was entertaining.
For everybody else, it was great. I would argue for me, it was very
yes,
great.
True.
So I like the under. I mean, if I have to pick a side, betting wise, I'd pick Craig. I kind of feel like Walker's gonna knock him out, and it won't, and the ground might not play. But I'm not betting Walker at 2-1. Like ever.
Absolutely, and that's also why I like.
Unless you get to face Ledet again. If you get to face Ledet again, no problem.
Yeah, no, and that's why I like the under too. Unfortunately, I missed the boat on the under, and I don't want to pay that chalky price. At least for me, folks. Doesn't mean you can't incorporate it or hit whatever you want to hit. But maybe that'll be saving grace because there could be a weird fight too where we get, again, this is SBG Johnny Walker, not exactly, fight IQ and process there, right? As far as that goes, and
that
keeps
camp
it
is terrible.
And like
they got lucky. That's a terrible camp.
And they're trying to make him technical, which is the worst. And even Paul Craig's talking about that. Says some really smart things in his press conference. Actually, Paul Craig did as far as the dangers of making sure you're keeping with your style despite working your striking, because Craig's working his striking too, but he's always keeping his style and where his money is made in mind. Whereas Walker's like on the back foot, not creating chaos, not creating what brought him to the dance. So if we get a weird fight. And even if it is Paul Craig slop striking, it's like he's going to be putting more output. He's going to be putting, again, optics. We went back to the optics. Even if it's not the most leveraging or the pretty strikes, sometimes optics in these close, icky fights can be the biggest difference. And I know that if he doesn't get knocked out in the process, Craig will be doing more in that weird Twilight Zone world where this fight goes over, right? So part of me just wants to hit the Craig money line, which is why I think it's dog or pass. I know I'm setting myself up for a partial confirmation bias. I try to compartmentalize these things. And also why I try to be like OCD my process early in the week and like put blinders on folks to try to avoid that as much as possible. But again, bias or no bias, bet, no bet. I don't see how you can justify a shot on Walker, even if that's who you're picking to win the fight, especially at chalky odds. So don't be surprised if you both see a pick and a straight just money line play. For Paul Craig, it's only at this point, it's only like $1 more for by sub. I would honestly just the weirdness of the fight, the fact that you'd already be on a dog hypothetically, I would just kick for coverage and take the money line if you're looking at Craig. And props to you guys if you got a good under, because if you got a good line for the under, that's not a bad bet either.
You're not going to say his name right if we're doing accents.
Paul Craig. Paul Craig. Nothing can outrun a grease. Nothing can outrun a grease, Scotsman.
Paul Craig. Oh. There you go.
That's right. Like grease me up, woman.
Oh, no, Willie.
Yeah, Willie.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
My first thing to do is to kill the whole lot of you. I know the mic's on.
Every Italian in my family that's never gonna watch this is gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing with all these accents, dude? Like, stick to like Italian shit, bro.
Stick to Italian. Yeah, this guy.
Or stick to Italian shit or Macho Man Randy Savage. Like, stick to that.
I went light on Jamal, by the way. When Jamal Hill fought Scottish Paul Craig, like, the Finding Forresters was crazy, And sure enough, once you go to the floor with Craig, it's bolt the door if you're coming in.
I like this. I like this Rain saying all these absurd names in chat. I gave a little bit of the Macho Man glasses.
Nice. Oh yeah, Macho Man's got a macho alimony payment.
Sorry. Dan Tom's having a cup of coffee in the big time.
Hey, does Macho Man want to field some questions while I run to the little boys' room because I am also old and have a terrible bladder?
No, but what's the next fight? I will give you the
kick us into the next fight. Yeah, actually, that's good. I didn't take this one. I'll lead it off and throw to Lou with intro and a stat. Thiago Moises minus 365, headlining the prelims. Melquizael Acosta, probably mispronounced the name, plus 300. I actually maybe would consider like a round one play on him if he was like not taking this fight on short notice. Because he's a southpaw, and Thiago Moises is 1-2 against southpaws, where that one victory was against Michael Johnson, where he was losing until he got an opportunistic sub. Also got tooled by southpaw Robert Watley on the regionals. So I almost wait for southpaws to fade Thiago Moises, but I'm probably not here and haven't researched enough to know how good Costa is. Thoughts, Lou, as I will be back, folks.
Melba toast. Fargo is going to as I don't love, and he like, I feel like I'm hearing a rainstorm right now. I don't love Moises in general as a guy I bet, but I am not impressed with Costa at all. I think Costa's sort of the better striker here, which makes me like the Moises round one sub so much more because he ain't going to fuck around the feet. He'd be like, I got to get to the ground immediately. I think outside of Costa landing something in the first minute of this fight, Moises takes him down, subs him. It's plus 380 round one sub. It's not a terrible bet. Like odds-wise, plus 380 is pretty nice for a first-round sub. But I just nothing about Costa that to me is impressive. And I'm just pulling up. I'm pulling up where Mel's Fargo here has fought. And I think we went out of order a little bit according to.
Did we?
It's all good. A little bit. Well, that's all right. But I'm not impressed with this ground game at all. And I said this when you were gone. I think that Moises knows Costa, his only path is striking, and that he's probably a better striker. And that's going to make him not even fuck around on the feet. He's just going to take it to the ground immediately. And he's going to have a massive advantage. I love fading Thiago Moises. Not here. And his round one sub at plus 380. If you just want to even be safer and go in the distance, it's even money. On short notice, I think Moises gets him out of there, like no problem. So, I don't like doing MMA math, like if I can avoid it, but I think Thiago's better than Costa, and Thiago's had a full camp, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, I think Moises just takes it to the ground the first 30 seconds, and it's all to the road.
That's true. I gave Thiagos much more credit, despite also picking against him. And Moises passed that with flying colors. But it's just so hard to back him because he's opportunistic. He doesn't kind of force his opportunities and make them happen, which is like one of those analyst pet peeves. And then from the whole personal gaming, gambling juju, like I just never have a great feeling on him. So like I'm not going to pick Costa and I'm not going to bet Costa. But at the same time, like Moises, for example, not that I'm saying he won't come through and you should stay or anything. Like, there's plenty of good angles that Lou just listed. But for example, for what it's worth, in my hypothetical parlay that I probably won't play, but I have lined up here, he is not one of the four names because I can't trust him, man. I never trusted him, and I was right when I was wrong on times like Johnson, and then got proven right on other times I backed him and missed the boat to fade. So I'm in that weird spot with Moises. So I'll probably just pick him and stay away. All right, next one, at least I'm going from best fight odds, but is this the one that's probably supposed to headline the prelims? Pateria minus 205 versus Mauricio Shogun Rua.
Oh, yeah.
Plus 175. By the way, Shogun Rua, you could argue this multiple different ways with this series with Machida alone, but he is officially 5-4 against UFC level southpaws. Pateria is a southpaw. I don't know how UFC level. I mean, he is UFC level for what we're working with today. He's athletic. He's pretty athletic from what I can remember. I got his grading the winners thing pulled up, but I don't remember what I wrote about him. Do you have any thoughts, plays, anything on this fight, Lou?
Oh, well, this is the main event for plays because this is your Yam Bag special of the card. And anybody watching this who's never seen him before, A, shame on you, but B, Yam Bag special is I am betting on a point deduction in this fight. It's 20-1 odds. You can get them on DraftKings and Betway, which use the same odds provider. I don't know any other sites to do them. It's a cultural phenomenon. Yambag culture has completely taken over Twitter. It's only a matter of time before one of my tweets gets on air about somebody getting a nut shot. So why do I like it here? There actually is a science to this, and this checks 2 boxes. It's lefty versus righty. It's southpaw orthodox, so the stances are more open. More prone to leg kicks hitting somebody in the sans testicles. And number 2, it checks the box of the favorite being an ungifted fighter. I don't think Pateria is not good.
Right.
He's very raw. And I'm not even taking into account the Negreanu fight, like where Negreanu had the threat of wrestling and like does have power, even on the regionals, man. This guy's, we taped him and it's like, it's so hard to find his tape. It's like shot 8mm in a Ukrainian basement where like, there's literally there may be like a Russian roulette game next door in some of this tape. Like you just don't know. His striking is really raw. He's got some power, but he's facing guys that are 0-1. Like he's facing bums. Meanwhile, Shogun, much respect, but he said he's retiring. I feel like he's shot. I feel like this fight won't take that long. But when the favorite is unskilled, if who is just backing up, and I feel like anything Pateria does that's weird here, like his fingers being extended, like and getting 2 warnings, or any shot he lands that's even like he could hit him in like the bottom of the stomach and like it could, he could sell it like a Yambag shot. I think they'll be looking for any reason to fuck this dude over and like. And
Nice.
also, I have no better option on the card, so I'm not going to bet it out of respect to who Pateria probably gets him out of there. It's -125 in the distance. I would need better price than that for a guy who I think's a bum. Make me pay minus odds for a bet like that. I'm not interested. But I'm interested in +2,000 that Hua probably gets fouled. And then maybe he wins like a 28-26 based on repeated fouls, and we all go home happy. He retires with a win based on repeated nut shots, and we're good to go. So, Yambag special for me here. No bet. Gun to my head. I guess Pateria, like younger, more power, and who seems shot, but there's no reason to even break this one down because Pateria, like, I don't know what he does well other than throw straight punches that are hard. I don't know that he has no grappling, so I don't know what he does well.
I'm just hoping this fight goes over and looks ugly, but all the fights, the money seem to be coming in on the unders. But regardless of a bet or pick, I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Yambag special. So thank you for giving us something to root for, Lou. Let's push through these fast.
It's who I am. It's what I do.
We're getting to the 2-hour mark, so we'll push these fast. We got HOBOCOP next, baby. HOBOCOP. He goes town to town, racially profiling people in trouble. He's part of the Bolsonaro favela initiative. Look at him. And he's probably packing heat in multiple ways. But he is -305 here. We got Bruno Ferreira stepping in on semi-short notice.
Peter Weller's my dude.
Who? What's that?
Peter Weller.
Peter Weller. That's right. Peter Weller. That's right. That's right.
Guy,
Peter
man.
Weller. Dead or alive, you're coming. What would be the line be on Gregory Rodriguez versus Kurtwood Smith if we just like switched up those worlds? We just that RoboCop versus Kurtwood Smith
now, or like 30 years ago.
I mean, I don't know if you're really getting that much.
Kurtwood Smith's like 90 now. So
yeah.
So what's the line? 90. I would take 72-year-old
dude
Peter Weller. He's got to be like, even at 72, he's like -4,000 over 90-year-old Kurtwood Smith. Like,
it blows me away that like Kurtwood Smith was
by
like.
the way, I'm happy. If we want to do a show where we handicap shit like this,
yes.
I am here for it.
Let's do it. By the way, I love how I'm like, hey, let's speed up, Lou, as we dive into a Kurtwood Smith diatribe on an MMA betting podcast because that's relevant. That's bringing the numbers. But by the way, I love that Kurtwood Smith was in his 70s when they started filming that 70s show. That just always blew me away. But yeah, I will take HOBOCOP here. I want to look at this fight a little more because Ferreira, Dunbar's number, I wrote him up and I don't remember him because there's just too many things to remember when you're in this space and you actually try to do your due diligence. It's tough. The brain only holds so much. But he is a judo black belt. Been doing judo for like 20 years since he was 4. Been doing jiu-jitsu for 16 years. I didn't see a jiu-jitsu rank, but I gotta imagine it's pretty high. What I'm trying to say is that I think you could take submission off the table. HOBOCOP likes to strike. And it's going to come down to, do you think HOBOCOP?
Don't be so quick.
Really? Well, I don't know.
So quick to say that.
You like Bruno Ferreira in this spot?
No, I'm saying don't take the sub off the table.
I would say so because he's thick, and like thick guys are easier to sub. But at the same time, like the guy's specialty is grappling, and part of me and HOBOCOP is reluctant to go to his grappling. He'll go to it once with a sweet throw and a submission, and then if that doesn't hit, he'll just kind of like go back into kill mode and whatnot as he does. But I'm definitely going to be leaning toward HOBOCOP. I don't know if or how I'm going to play him, or if he'll end up in that mythical 4-leg parlay that I'm trying to put together for plus money.
So he's minus 190 in the distance now, which is like crazy. It jumped. It was minus 165 when I got it. So I mentioned something earlier in the show that I am reluctant to take an in the distance prop against an undefeated regional fighter.
Okay.
I am making an exception here because Julian Marquez was like an unstoppable tank, and Rodriguez just absolutely blasted him into the shadow realm. And as tough as Marquez is the Iron Turtle, and Rodriguez just came back and battled adversity and knocked him out. If you're going to take Bruno here, if you're going to take the shot on him, his round 1 KO prop is like bananas the last time I looked at it. It's like 9-1. I mean, I'm looking right now. Wins in round 1 is plus 600, but the KO was it's 800, 900 on FanDuel. I mean, that's his win condition. He's coming in on short notice, and let's be honest, I love me some G-Rod. We all do. He gets into trouble every fight, and he gets into trouble early. Cheaty, I don't have to repeat what Cheaty did to him, but Iron Turtle had him in trouble. Petrosian had him he gets into trouble in the first round. Like Marquez, he didn't. What he did to Marquez was like just insane. But he can battle adversity, so I think if you like Bruno here, take the shot on round 1 KO plus 900, but a G-Rod's going to get this done in the first 2 rounds. And DraftKings may have a decent number on that. I'm going to look it up right now, what the round 1, round 2 combo is as a good way. Because, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be much cheaper than round 3, but it's always worth a look.
I like those
Winner
too.
in group of rounds is... Nah, it's minus 175. You're not saving any money there, but... I think Rodriguez just annihilates him, and I haven't thrown this out yet, so I'll pivot something different for your content. For those of you that are watching that play DFS, I feel like he's going to be one of the lower owned guys in that 9K range because everybody's going to want to own Almeida, and everybody's going to want to own. But I think like the guys near him salary wise are like Cody Stamen, who's not gonna. I don't think he's going to win a decision, get a finish here. Like Walker's kind of close to his salary range. I like Rodriguez. And if Rodriguez, last point on this, if Rodriguez finds this is getting hairy on the feet, I know he hasn't shown a predilection to really want to go to grappling a lot, but he did so against Jun Young Park when it got hairy. There's no reason he can't here. And if he does, I think that sub's live. Like, I don't know that I'm going to bet it. It's going to be one of these, like, am I 5-1 for the night? Do I feel like, because his sub prop, I think, is plus 280. It's almost 300. It's interesting. I mean, it's hard to say because we haven't seen, he's facing an undefeated guy, so we don't know. We don't really know that the takedown defense. We don't really know, if he's, like I just mentioned, I don't know if he's tough enough to survive submissions. Maybe he is, but G-Rod's legit, man. He's legit on the ground. He just doesn't he's just in love with his hands at this point. But I think the sub's going to be live. And look, the Brazilian crowd's going to eat it up if he just starts doing jiu-jitsu, and you know it too.
Yep, I think so too. Let's push forward because I want to get to my 2 favorites. Of course, is HOBOCOP and the JAILMAN. But between that is a fight I have no opinion on. Gabriel Bonfim minus 165. Moises-Lazzez, haven't got to it. No, if I will. Lazzez plus 140. Any thoughts on this, Lou?
I got to bet on Lazzez at plus 155. I don't have a strong take on it. I don't like betting Bonfim here as a favorite in his debut at home. I think Lazzez, I don't love Lazzez, but his takedown defense is good enough to keep it standing, and I like his length. I like the way he uses it, and he's shown that 15 minutes is no problem for him. He never gets tired. I think Lazzez can just kind of, I mean, this is going to be the one I get screwed on because of the judging, but I think he can just kind of outpoint him and win the minutes.
I could see that. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see the more experienced guy, as a dog money, but
home cooking. That's why the line's the way it is.
We'll see. Next one I'm excited about. Speaking of cooking, we got the Jailton Almeida, the Jailman, baby. He's staying at heavyweight. You know why, Lou? Because the Jailman loves going to Pound Town, and at heavyweight, there's more cushion for the pushing. So, Jailman's gonna, and he doesn't discriminate too. I mean, you want to talk about, your rough wake ups and you're waking up to someone after a rough bender. I mean, Jailman's looking to pound out dirty, sweaty Dagestani Randy Couture. I mean, a big hairy Dagestani guy, looks a little rough. Jailman doesn't care. He's still going to try to go to Pound Town. All right, now that I'm getting way too excited about this, what are your thoughts?
I mean, he did try to go to Pound Town with the Pleasure Man. So, I mean, there's that.
Jailman and Pleasure Man. How perfect is that?
I mean, I don't know how you bet this. Like, in the distance is -5. Like, is he going to win? Like, is he going to win in the distance? Yeah. If you're cool throwing $550 or whatever, if you're cool trying to get a minor profit off this fight, it's safe. I mean, he's going to murder. And, like, let's be honest. I'm not sure this fight's going to happen. None of us are. But I wouldn't even bet him in the distance. Just bet the under 1.5, because if this thing goes past 7.5 minutes, we all deserve to lose. But this should be a round one smash spot. Even round one's -250 here. I think the last time I saw a round one line that high was like, it might have been Romanov Sherman, or it might have been like Tafa Hunsucker. But like, these that's a tough bet to make. Like,
yeah,
because weird shit can happen. But I think he's gonna just. I mean, what analysis do you want? He's gonna prison love story him.
Yeah.
In round one is the analysis.
I will say this, obviously, both from his bio to his interviews to his record, he prefers submissions over punching, and that's reflected in the betting line, right? And you got to be a super degenerate to really go hunting and just to take stabs. But I will say, not just to be contrarian, not just because I believe it's the only place to get plus money to choose, Parker, but if you do choose a KO prop, Jailman going to Pound Town, I think that's good, because a lot of these guys, like Parker Porter, say what you will, like the guy at least had a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. He at least tried. Shamil Abdurakhimov, back to the previous Wushu Sanda point, someone was talking about it's wrestling with takedowns, this and that. It is. You do have takedowns off of kicks, off of clinches, and just off of your strikes in general. But there's no real mat grappling. So Wushu Sanda fighters like Shamil Abdurakhimov, a guy who I've been researching early, back on my pen and paper, like 2014 days, folks. Almost a decade ago, I've been taking notes on this guy who only fights once a year. He doesn't do much on the ground offensively. And that became really apparent for the first time I studied him ahead of his Timothy Johnson fight. And in that fight, you look, and I'm going to rewatch these fights to see how much he moves, but once he gets on his back, whether it's a knockdown like Chris Dawkins or Tim Johnson, a takedown off the fence, he is like a cow tipped over. He can't do anything. Like he's not even going to turtle to give his neck. Now, Jailman also loves some head and arm choke, so I think that's going to be the most likely submission if he submits him. But I honestly think he takes him down, mounts him, and just pounds him out from top. And if you can get plus money, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to encourage super degenerate. I'm usually the guy that's like, just because it's a big favorite, don't automatically go hunt inside the distance.
Well, you gotta get creative. You gotta get creative. You gotta get creative to make money on them. You have to get creative if you want to try to make like
Yeah, or take this, if you got like a house that allows you to do method and round, see what the round one KO prop is, because even round one by itself I think is like -250. It's way too chalky.
Or if you want to get super ballsy, take a poke on round two.
Woo! Yeah, that is ballsy. I don't know if Doggy Randy can survive.
He can't. But if you wanted to take a flyer on a plus odds prop, I mean that's you're gonna get like, I mean, I don't know what his round two is. It's got to be banana land here. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to get creative and find a way to make money on it, then like Almeida round two plus 650 on DraftKings. It's 600 on FanDuel. Other books have them at like plus 400, but plus 650, maybe not worth it for the worst 5 minutes of your betting life.
Whether I play that KO or not, I may put the Jailman KO in my round robin if I can't find any other quote unquote sexy things. If you want to consider that sexy,
he's never been subbed, so You know?
Yeah.
I just worry that the threat of the sub, he might be like, fuck this. Like,
when he gets on the ground, my thing is he just covers up. Now, if he covers up, you know, you can sneak in the head and arm and sink in. But I feel like he gives it up before guys can even sub him if they wanted to. The guy just falls apart on the mat.
He also knows the score here and that he is being led to the pasture.
Yeah.
He's just there for a check. I'm saying is if Jailton even when he gets him down, because he's going to, it might be like even the threat of the sub, like just the arm near him. He's like, fuck this. I'll take my money and like get the hell out of here. I'm in my 40s. Like, I don't need this shit. I don't need to be on top.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yeah.
So like I'd worry about that.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, but a part of me wants Almeida to just punch him for 5 minutes, and then like with 1 second left, the ref's like, all right. Like, nothing.
Right. Yep, nothing to see here. Yeah. We get the Kerry Hatley treatment from last weekend, but maybe not too early because you want the round 2 if you're going to be contrarian there.
No, I don't really believe round 2 is going to hit.
Okay. Yeah.
You want to get creative,
yes,
like I guess that's the way to do it. But
all right, let's push on. Cody Stamen minus 365, Luan-Lacerda plus 300. Just in short, I'll say that Stamen is one of the guys I'm looking at for that mythical 4-leg for plus money. I want to look a little bit for myself, but I stayed a little light and teased this as far as my scouting report. I stayed a little light on Brazilians because my guy, one of my favorite analysts in the game, one of the best analysts in the game, Ryan Wag, Sistema, or whatever the hell his handle is these days, he just released an interesting Nova and Yao Prospect Watch article, and he actually covered Luan-Lacerda in there, and talks about his game very thoroughly, more in-depth even than your boy gets to get on his long-winded articles. So definitely worth a check out if that's your thing. But summation, he doesn't have necessarily the wrestling perhaps to get him to the higher levels to make his jiu-jitsu work. And against Stamen, that's going to be tough. Stamen's really good. You know, he doesn't get a lot of finishes, so he gets a bad rap. But when you go back and look at like him grappling for grappling and wrestling for wrestling and Aljo in that fight that he lost, he actually puts up a pretty good account for himself and really looks to be finally finding his win. Got that confidence after that long winless streak, losing his brother, the pandemic. You got to, taking fights at short notice, up at 45. There's a lot of context you got to have when going back to look at Cody Stamen's record there. Anyways, I'm not going to stress too much to see how he does it. Maybe if I have enough time to look at this fight, something will pop out. But I'm going to be mainly looking at it for a potential parlay attack. Anything on this one, Lou?
No, I mean, he's safe here. I don't love Lacerda's. His entries going for submissions and takedowns won't work here. I mean, at all. And if it's every second that stays on the feet, Stamen has a huge advantage. And I'm not even high on Stamen. He is so much better there. I think his takedown defense is going to hold up here fine. I don't like Lacerda's cardio. I don't really like anything about him, to be honest with you. But this is another crazy line. He's a very safe parlay piece. I did see some people that were like, oh, I'll take a poke on the under at plus 205 here. Yeah, I'm not interested in that either, man. Stamen's not that kind of guy. And Stamen decision, probably all right, but even that number is it's juice to the tits. I'm no interest in it.
Yeah.
But I think he's a very safe parlay piece.
I'll tell you one that seems to be, I don't know if it is, Lou, I'm out of touch with the Twitter fight of the week for the gambling Twitter, whatever they're arguing about, and usually I end up hating that fight or end up hating that people are arguing about it because it's usually a fight that's super volatile. It's why are you guys going life or death on a side here? Is my usual opinions, but this feels like Ishmael Bonfim plus 105, Terrence McKinney minus 125. I feel like this is the fight where Twitter's maybe they're not, maybe no one even gives a shit about this fight, but this feels like a fight
everybody
that
cares.
Arguing.
Everybody cares about. Okay. Everybody cares about this fight.
Okay, I feel like this is going to have strong opinions. I didn't get to it yet, so I don't have a strong opinion, unfortunately, for you guys. Do you have one on this fight, Lou?
I'm going against McKinney here. I'm going to play Ismail Bonfim. His takedown defense is pretty good, and he's good at separating distance. Look, what do you have to do to beat McKinney? You have to survive 3 to 4 minutes. I think that's what you have to do. He cardio dumps. He's in his own head, man. McKinney just look, his wins in the UFC, the Frivola win. Look, man, that's if they fought 10 times, Frivola wins 8 of them. Frivola's just a better fighter. The Faris Zayam fight, come on, man, that's not a great win. Ghost Pepper is not UFC caliber. And then he lost to Dober, and I know he took the fight on short notice, but like, and the talk of Twitter is, but he cracked him, and it's like, okay, Dober has terrible striking defense.
Right.
Like, yeah, he's got a tough chin, but Dober gets cracked a lot. Like Rafael Alves, like, cracked him a lot. And I don't grade him very highly either. I like what I see from Bonfim here. I think and his takedown defense is going to hold up, because I think that's the big difference here. I don't think McKinney's going to one-shot him, and I think it's going to stay at range for the first couple minutes. And I have a play on Bonfim round 2 at plus 600 because it pays more, of course. And the under 1.5 is like minus 235, but I feel like that under is like really based on McKinney round 1. Like you'd rather, if don't take the under, just take McKinney round 1. If you really, if that's how you think the fight plays out, take him round 1. Like under 1.5 minus 235 is you can't. Like, you can't even take it for Almeida really, but like he's gonna like murder him. It's a little different. Like that's a line that's minus 1,000. Like that, there's a very clear way that's gonna happen. This one, I think it's super competitive. You're not getting a great line on Bonfim. Plus 105 is like okay. So I'll say this: wait for a live bet spot if you can. If McKinney even if he just gets tired for like the last 30 seconds, you might get Bonfim at plus 300 here after round 1. And if it gets out of the first, you have to like him. You have to like anybody against McKinney at this point after round 1. He hasn't shown enough to me that he's a guy that can fight.
Yeah.
And maybe this is where he wins by going to decision, like, and breaks me. But
right.
And also, just one last thing about DFS here again. McKinney's probably going to be owned by like 60% of the field because of his salary. Like, he's going to be like a crazily owned play. If you play Bonfim and he wins and he gets a finish, that's the kind of lineup that wins you $100,000. Like, going contrarian, being overweight to a guy that, like, to the field. Look, you're going to be shitting your pants, like, watching it, but he comes through and all of a sudden you've just eliminated so much of the field to get to the big money.
Totally.
I like that play a lot. And I don't want like my friend Evan Zucker in chat, because we're in Gordo's Ironman competition. So I don't want him taking all these pointers from me. My lineups, but like you have to go contrarian a little bit to win, and this is a great guy to do it with finishing upside.
Yeah. So, I hear what you're saying, and generally from the dynamic, I prefer the guy that's gonna, survive the storm. That's where I usually bet and pick, and my analysis is definitely more geared to, And I did rate the Bonfim brothers fairly okay. I believe this Bonfim brother. I didn't go back to read yet, folks. There's so much to get to. I will. But I'm pretty sure I rated this brother even higher. So I'll probably be, I don't know if I'll be laying my money or what lines I'll get by the time, my ass gets to it. But I don't hate any of that. And knowing me and y'all knowing me and how I kind of break down fights, I'll probably end up leaning more toward the Bonfim side as well. Next fight here. Let me pull this and pull that in. Where the hell are we? Nicholas Dalby, Southpaw fault line, plus 105. No Southpaw and Warley-Alves, 211, 212, 211. Minus 125 on Alves. I don't really got a too strong of opinion on this fight. Regardless of who I pick, I'll be rooting for Dalby. But this is kind of one of those similar things where can you survive the storm? That being said, I don't know if Dalby can. And, as he gets older, he's not super athletic. Whereas for all the things that I pick on and cash my big Brian Barberena tickets back in the day, baby, when no one was on him against Warley-Alves. For all the negative stuff I could say about Alves, the dude's an athlete. He's explosive. He provides the damage, whether he hits cleanly or not, that judges respond to. Plus the whole crowd responding to it and yada yada, home cooking yada, whatever you want to say. I'll probably end up picking Alves, but we'll be definitely rooting for Dalby regardless of what I end up picking. Any thoughts here, Lou?
I bet the split decision in this fight with crazy odds, because here's how I think the fight goes.
Okay.
Alves wins round 1. Dalby wins round 3,
okay.
And round 2 will be fuckery.
Yes.
Where Dalby probably wins the round and 2 of the judges give it to Alves because of the first 30 seconds of the round. Dalby, like, I know his reputation is that he's pretty durable, but like, man, it's almost 40. Like,
yeah,
and Alves is like, I mean, he's so explosive. He hits like a brick. Like, I mean, his fists are like hitting like hit by a brick.
Yep.
But I can't trust him, so I can't get to him. Even at minus 120. And look, he shouldn't be minus 125 here. He should probably be a bigger line, and that's telling you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Because skill for skill, he's a way better fighter than Dalby. Yeah. But durability. I mean, like the whole reason he's not a bigger favorite is durability. So I'll pick Alves for the sake of having a pick. No bet here except the bullshit split decision at like 1,100 plus 11 for each guy.
Yeah, I love that, by the way. And usually I'd be with Mushroom here in the chat, who's Dalby round 3 decision, or at least he's suggesting that, because I love those bets. And this is the exact dynamic, Mushroom, where that's where you look at that. So, you know, I don't hate that. I just, you know, maybe it's a bit of the old sadness hedge, to borrow phrase from Heavy Hands, who I'll be on next week recapping this card.
Plus 650 for the split. Each guy is plus 1,100.
Nice. Let's keep blowing through this. Josiana Nunes minus 540. That is a stupid line. Nunes-Fairn plus 420. That being said, I'm picking Nunes here. I looked at a bit of Fairn for the Southpaw report. I just got to go back and refresh myself on Nunes, who I think I had a pretty good beat on. I know she gets crap for not finishing Ramona Pascal, but Ramona Pascal, for whatever you can say, positive or negative, she's a big, athletic, durable girl. It was hard to get out of there, and that should have been something that should have been apparent before that fight. So that didn't surprise me, and even though I didn't go look at it, that was one of those classic calls that really irked me because I had to play on the round prop, and it would have exponentially 10x my round robin hits that already came through that night when I had Nunes round 2, and we could have had a nice stoppage there. I didn't go rewatch it to see if it was as horrendous as my bias ass remembers on fight night, but I do remember, for what it's worth, I did seem to have a pretty good beat on Nunes for all her faults and obvious shortcomings, pardon the pun. That being said, the number is ridiculous. Could it still maybe qualify itself and contend for the fourth leg to make a plus money? It could. Will it? I don't know. It probably shouldn't. I'm just thinking out loud and being honest with you guys. I haven't researched this fight. I can just tell you that I'll probably pick Nunes, and regardless of what I play or not play, that's just a dumb money line. I know Fairn's trading with Figueiredo, but I don't think that'll make much of a difference. Again, all props to the older fighters, but her sample size getting in this late in the game at 39, she's already a slow mover. She's not really like explosive or has a lot of initiative or urgency, which you're going to need for that reach and to catch Nunes. I think it's going to be overhands to the jaw. Give me Nunes.
She stopped Ramona Pascual, by the way. Just
she did.
The
okay,
ref
so
stop it.
Okay, cool. I'm not just being biased.
Stop it, but that fight should have been stopped multiple times.
Yes, thank you. That's
not going to be a problem here, because at least with Pascual, she did have some grappling upside. Like, she got takedowns with like 45 seconds left, in a couple of rounds, but
survive. Yeah, right.
But this is a very different situation. Like, I don't think Nunes-Fairn's very good. I realized that, like, the last 2 times she got finished in the UFC by Spencer and by Megan Anderson, there was a grappling threat, and there won't be here.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, does Nunes hit hard. So I already have a plan in the distance. I think the second coming of Joe Benavidez gets it done here, like, knocks out. This is going to be a smash spot. You think the line's crazy? I know it's women's MMA. I don't even think this line should be wider.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I think there's. Oh yeah, this is gonna be a 15-minute standing fight against somebody who hasn't fought. When's the last time she fought? 3 years ago, right?
Well, I feel less crazy for having her as a consideration for the final leg of the chalky stupid parlay.
It's been 3 years. 3 years since Fairn fought, and she's fighting somebody who, like, she's being thrown to the slaughter here, man. Like, they just have to have a fight at 145 for reasons I don't understand, but.
Contract, Nunes, man. It's contract season. That's it.
Nunes is just gonna, like, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Much like the Pascual fight was. It's going to get uncomfortable.
It's gonna get very uncomfortable, absolutely.
But they're gonna call it. There's no way she's.
They better. Last thing, Nunes trains with an actual Brazilian camp too, an Astro fight team, so she has, like, actual male and female training partners. Whereas Fairn has impressive male training partners, but she just moved there across the ocean, and Team Figueiredo, like we were alluding to. They just kind of got established. So who knows who she's even really getting to train with over there. Lastly but not leastly, Saimon, brah. Saimon is good in this weather, brah. Saimon Oliveira, minus 145. Daniel Marcos, plus 125. Shouts to my grading the winners sheets that I write. And those of you who reference it, because those of you who were on your reference game earlier than my ass this week, which is most of you, But someone pointed out to me that I actually called for this matchup, and sure enough, the matchmakers made it. Hey, look at that. Maybe they read it sometimes. Who knows? Made sense though. Not a lot to draw from at this weight class, I guess, right? At least currently. But yeah, I don't have a strong opinion. They're both Muay Thai-like fighters. I know Simon Oliveira will drop for the gilly, but he's not facing a wrestler in Marcos. Again, this guy's another guy who loves the art of 8 limbs. I just feel like Simon is not just the more experienced guy, but the better guy off the top of my mind. Keep in mind, I didn't go back to rewatch this fight. Not sure if I will. Not sure if I'll play it, but leaning toward the favorite. Any thoughts here, Lou?
I am on the other side. I do have a tracked bet on Marcos, and the market is moving toward him as well.
Okay.
So Simon Oliveira's only move is the DDT. Like he gets taken down and he's literally trying to grab a DDT and he calls it a guillotine, but it's a DDT. This fight's not going to hit the ground. If it hits the ground, it would be Marcos dictating it. The problem here is that the only tape we have on Marcos that's legit is his Contender Series fight, because we didn't see him for 3 years, and what he did in the Contender Series was 100% different than his tape. But I was impressed with what I saw in his 15 minutes, and I'm going to bring up a quick point about another reason I like him here so much. My guy Aaron and I talked about this today on the prop show, is that a lot of these Brazilian guys during COVID, they went away, they just spent their time building up, learning, and then they became so different in their tape. Natalia Silva is a perfect example. She came in against Jasuda Vicious. She looked nothing like her tape.
Yeah.
She's just blasting her on the feet. And then she fought Bleda, I believe, the girl from the Contender Series, and knocked her out in the third. She's a whole different fighter. What I'm saying is the tape doesn't belie what they are now. The tape's outdated. I don't know what Marcos' potential is, but and you could say, his cardio didn't look great in the third round, but he was throwing a lot of heavy strikes, and Davis was just so tough in that fight. So I favor Marcos here. I'm going with the market. I do think he's going to land the way more impressive strikes. I don't know that he gets Oliveira out of there. Oliveira's never been knocked out, never been finished. So I'm not keen, but it is interesting to me that his KO prop is plus 300 and his decision prop is plus 450. So there's something that I don't understand, where even the market's saying him by KO is the most likely outcome in this fight. So give me Marcos, and I'm excited to see his growth, because I do think his striking is pretty explosive, and I'm just really not impressed with Oliveira. Even his Jose Aldi fight in the Contender Series, I'm not impressed with him.
Right. Now, well, I'll definitely root for you there. I'm curious now. I'm more curious to research this fight after listening to you talk about it. I've been bad this whole time. I didn't mention at all, as we're going to get ready to get out of here. I didn't do any Amazon reads this time, folks. But mixedmartialanalyst.com, you can find Amazon, and on it click-throughs. You just click through the link, and at no extra click or purchase or cost, you can support this here show. Whatever you do purchase, percentage of that small one will be kicked back to this here program. Free show. I don't even have a Patreon, so this stuff really helps, folks. One man show here. And also got secure PayPal link, both in my link tree at Dan Tom MMA on Twitter, as well as mixedmartialanalyst.com. Again, my website that hosts this here program, the Protect Connect podcast. So be sure to give a like. Something else I forgot to say throughout this video: like, subscribe if you're feeling froggy, and share at the PYM podcast. Tag on all social platforms. It really does help. And if you're listening in the future on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings and reviews definitely help. Still working on Stitcher, SoundCloud, and all that, but honestly, I'm probably going to have to just pay someone to convert my library over and trust them with passwords. If you sound like the man or woman for that job, feel free to DM me. It's silly. I should be able to do it myself, but I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything for free. So if you want to maybe help and earn some ducats, get at me for that. And lastly but not leastly, this channel and video is monetized, so you can do super chat stuff, even though, as you see, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to discriminate. I'm still going to read whether or not you tip or not. But there's also a thing called super thanks, which I guess I qualify for. So even if you're watching this video after it's gone live and you still want to tip and you missed the chat, you can still tip, and it goes directly to this show. Or if you want to earn it, Poindexter, come on, Asian Bill Burr, you got to earn it. Okay, fine, fair enough. If I do actually help you guys hit some picks, and then you still think of me and want to come back and do it post-tense, that's always fine too. And if you don't want to give anything at all, that's totally cool. Times are tough. There's not a lot of money to give. So you guys being here is just appreciative. You sharing it out at the PYN podcast. is really super appreciative. Now, before I recap picks and plays and kick it over to Lou to give his last shots before we get out of there, Lou, is there anything left on the breakdown that we missed that you want to touch back on? Anything that we left out?
There is not.
My man. Thank you, Mushroom. Great show and greater guest. It was a great guest. Thank you, Lou. I'm really bad about it. I actually love so many of you guys. I'm just really, as Lou can attest to now, and many others can see, I'm just got a lot on me. I'm trying to get to what I can. I'm just really bad at many things. So it is completely my bad. My intention is to link up with as many of these fine people as I can. I don't get to do it enough. So the fact that you guys like Mushroom out there and the rest of you in the chat are showing your appreciation to me, showing love and respect to my guest, Lou, give him a follow at Lou Betya. It honestly means the world. So I'm going to recap my picks and plays before we get at it. But before I do that, Lou, any last things you want to shout before we get out of here, bud? Floor is yours.
No, man, thank you for having me. I only drank 2 beers. I'm very proud of myself. I can save them for the NFL show that I'm doing in 27 minutes with my guy Wiz. I also cap soccer. If you follow me and you just feel like if you really want to gamble and it's like 10 in the morning on a Saturday, I got you.
Yeah.
The best I can tell you is like I got you. I'm looking forward to this card, and Dan, I look forward to us doing the prop show on our channel. I do a prop show every week called Props to Consider and Then Maybe Bet. It's fun.
Plug the channel.
MMA Engine. It's got Monk Petition and I, Uncle Wheezy, and Brady, DFS by the numbers. We're all doing hard work on there. Stats, DFS, gambling, and normal, like all sorts of crazy shit that comes into my head that Brady lets me do without having a heart attack, since he, is like my monitor, my hall monitor. But that's it. And we're fun. I'm not a boring account. That's all I can tell you.
You are not, man. I'm so glad we got to do this. I can't wait to
definitely
do your prop show.
I'm not the smartest guy, but definitely not boring.
Well, I don't think that's why. I don't think that's the appeal for many of us, sir. But no, you do fantastic stuff. I'm so glad we finally got to link up. I'm excited to do more on your show. To get on that prop show coming soon, folks. I'll plug that on my timeline and share that, of course, as well. Going to recap the picks and plays and get out of here on a record-long show, but that's what happens when you got a party, man. Some fights to talk about, good peeps.
It is a 15-fight card.
It is ridiculous. Top to bottom, taking. This is just me, by the way. I'll do my best to timestamp, and if Lou wants to shout a recap, he can jump behind me on this this train, so to speak. Phrasing. Taking Teixeira-Hill, Jamal. Taking my buddy doll over Neil Magny. Wow. Jesus, man. Taking Jessica Andrade over Lauren Murphy. Taking, I almost said Johnny Walker. Taking Paul Craig over Johnny Walker Black on the mat. Taking,
they are all good.
They're all
Blue
good.
And black they are both delicious. They're both delicious.
Taking Mile Kuala-Luiso. I just fucked up that name. I'm sorry. Let me at least try to pronounce it respectfully.
Melbatov.
Costa. No, I'm not taking Costa. I'm taking Moist. Taking Moist over Costa. Oh man, I'll probably Sadness Hedge maybe and take Pateria over Shogun. Just check my picks and plays at Dan Tom MMA on fight day. Who did you take in that fight, Lou? Did you take Shogun? I know you had the yam bags, but who did you take? Pateria? Shogun?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, yeah, it's like yam bag.
I said gun to my head. I have to take Pateria here.
But we're all rooting for the yam bags for that fight, so don't get it twisted.
I'm not betting it, but it's a gun to my head. I'd pick it.
Okay,
I can't bet a guy who said he's retiring.
True. Root for the yam bags, though, folks. Taking HOBOCOP, baby. Going town to town, racially profiling those in trouble over Fajeda. Taking, I don't know if I'm taking Lazzez or Gabriel Bonfim. Check me at Dan Tom MMA on fight day. Oh, I'm taking the Jailman, baby. Not in the painful way, thank God, but as far as a pick goes, yes. Taking the Jailman over Doggy Randy, Shavdil Abdurakhimov. Taking Stamen over Lacerda. Taking, well, we'll see. I'll probably leaning toward Bonfim over McKinney. We'll see where I end up there. Probably leaning in a Sadness Hedge-wise Alves over Dalby, but rooting for y'all betting the split, rooting for Dalby's, rooting for dog monies. Taking Nunes over Fairn. We'll see if she makes it into a chalky-ass parlay if I even do one. And taking, well, we'll see. We'll see. Leaning Saimon-Marcos over Marcos, but after hearing Lou's breakdown, I want to jump into that fight and see for myself. So you can see where I end up on fight day at Dan Tom MMA, where I post my picks and plays. Lou, anything to add to that?
Nope. And that's it. I got
All
nothing.
right. I got nothing too, man. This was a great show. Thank you guys for joining. Check the timestamps, share, have fun, stay safe. Watch out for weird neighbors offering you popsicles in their cellar. And always
Protect your bags.
That's right. Protect your yam bags and always protect your neck.